Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining early. We will be starting here at 7:30, just a few more minutes. Thanks for joining early. Please like, subscribe, and share. We get a great show tonight. Lots to talk about of the bills coming through our state legislature this week. We have a great guest. It- Our guest tonight is going to be Representative Carlos Barron. If you're not familiar with Carlos, you are going to love him. Very outspoken guy, very interesting person. Definitely, you're going to love what he has to say. I'm really looking forward to it. Hello to everybody out there. We will be starting here at 7:30. We got a lot going on tonight. A lot to talk about. We're going to be going live here at 7:30. Please invite other people. This is a great way to be informed about what's happening in our state government. And we want to empower you to have a voice in the legislative process. So it's going to be a great show tonight. We're going to be starting here at 7:30. Representative Carlos Barron is a very fun legislator. He's going to have a great talking points. Really excited to hear what he has to say. Freshman legislator, very outspoken, very interesting guy. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll be starting in ju- we'll be starting in just about 4 minutes. Hello, free people of the Rocky Mountain region, and welcome to this legislative live stream here. We have Michael Vance joining us here shortly. But if you're new, every week we do a live stream starting at 7:30, usually about 2 hours long. We talk about some of the upcoming bills being heard in committee hearings this week. We try and give you all the tools and the information to be empowered to have a voice in our state government. There's so much happening this year. I know a lot of people out there are discouraged with the anti-gun bills, particularly Senate Bill 3 and some of these other pieces of authoritarianism that we've seen come through our state capitol. But, don't despair, people. There's so much we can do. There's so much opportunity here. And it really starts with being informed and networking with other individuals. So we got to get involved, have a voice, show up at the state capitol. And Michael's joining you here in just a second, but I just want to say a couple things. I don't know about you, but watching the debate over Senate Bill 3, at the very least, I was really happy with what the Republicans did, both in the Senate and the House, because they made the Democrats pay a little bit of a price, right? Even though the Republicans couldn't stop Senate Bill 3 from passing, right? They just don't have the numbers. There's no way they can do it unless enough Democrats decided to join them in stopping this horrendous piece of legislation. But of course, that wasn't going to happen. So, what did the Republicans do? They took their time. They did a quote unquote kind of filibuster, right? They stretched it out. I don't know if you saw the calendar for the state Senate or the state House this last week, but Senate Bill 3 was supposed to be just one of the many bills being discussed. But basically, they had to postpone every other bill that they discussed. And Senate Bill 3 took up the entire day for multiple days in both chambers. So this at least slows down the process. It prevents some of these Democrats from getting other pieces of their legislation through. So don't get me wrong, it's still horrendous. It's a horrible thing that's happening in our state. But nonetheless, there are ways to fight back. There are ways to slow them down. It's not totally lost. So, Michael, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Brandon. We had a great weekend. We had a legislative action dinner that went fantastic. We sold just about every seat we possibly could, so could not be more thrilled. We had Reps Kelty, we had and also Rep Ryan Gonzalez was there. Rep Ryan Gonzalez spoke for a little bit. We were honored to have Mayor Aaron Lamb. We had also had Ian Escalante of RMGO there, and he gave a fantastic speech as well. I spoke for just a couple minutes, just basically talking about our live stream, some of the bills, and gave a brief layout of what the blueprint is for Colorado, led by Jared Polis, Pat Stryker, Rep Bridges, and Tim Gill. So fantastic night for Liberty. It was great to meet with Republicans and Libertarians and unaffiliateds who really care about one thing, and that's making Colorado a more free place. So we cannot be more thrilled with how last night went, and we're grateful for everyone who attended. So I just want to harken off of some of the words that you were saying just a little bit ago about Senate Bill 3. This is not a moment for black pills. This is a moment for white pills because we saw how to fight back. We are in a very rough position right now, but we saw people fighting back in the Senate. And even more importantly, we saw you fighting back. And as long as you're fighting back, we're going to win. And that's because you're going to inspire somebody else to fight with you. And there's a lot of disenchantment. There's a lot of people who are quote unquote black pilled, and we've got to stop. And this is not the moment to become black pilled. This is the moment to become white pilled because, yes, this did go to Polis. Um, and the fight is not over yet either. This is our moment to remind Polis of his own ego because we all know that Polis wants to run for president. And if this thing passes and does not get vetoed, that's on him, regardless of whether he signs it or not, because him signing it or not letting this thing pass and not get signed is still a passage on Governor Polis's part. It just does not have his signature. So we need to remind him of his own ego and his own desires of higher office. So that's my ask of you all right now. Contact Polis's office, email him, call him, and let him know that this is a disaster, not only for Colorado, but his own presidential future and his own hopes for higher office.
Awesome. Well said, Mike. Yeah, I wish I could have been there at the legislative dinner last night. Unfortunately, wasn't able to make it, but everything I heard, it was great. and really exciting to see so many people come together, so many people getting organized. You mentioned the blueprint. So these authoritarian progressive types, with lots of money, they came up with the plan to turn Colorado into the place they want. But it's on the other side, the people who believe in liberty and freedom, our plans revolve around our own lives, our own businesses, our own families. But I think now more than ever, we're more organized, more connected, and we're developing plans to push back and get some real wins. And so I'm real optimistic. I know we can make an impact. And I do have to say, a lot of it starts here at our state government and being informed. One of the great things, Michael, we do with this live stream, for people out there who are brand new, we're going to show you some bills, some interesting pieces of legislation that you may not have heard about, stuff that's not necessarily in the news, stuff that's not necessarily all over social media, but still very important pieces of legislation that you should be aware of and you should know what's going on. And it's not hopeless, folks. We can make an impact. We can really do a lot. So you ready to get started, Michael?
Absolutely. Let's get into it, Brandon.
Wonderful. And I love seeing the chat. We got a really super active chat this evening. So we're going to have a great guest. I don't know if anybody knows Representative Carlos Barron, but he is a very interesting gentleman, very outspoken. It's going to be a lot of fun talking to him. I'm really looking forward to it, to hear what he has to say and giving us some tips on how to be a little bit more effective down at the Capitol. So we're going to have some fun here this evening, folks. There's 570 bills introduced so far. Don't get me wrong, we still got about 6 weeks or so in the legislative session. So still more to come, unfortunately, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles. So tonight, folks, we're going to be talking about the bills of the week. That's what we're going to start with. So these are bills being heard in committee hearings this week. This is where you can show up, you can do remote testimony, you can reach out to the people on the committee and urge them to vote a specific way. These are bills that are going to be decided on this week. Oftentimes, by the time these bills get to the floor of the House or the Senate, so much has already been decided. It's oftentimes these committee hearings where most of the bills end up getting stopped or killed. It's very rare for a bill to make it out of committee and then die on the floor of the Senate or the House. So these committee hearings are very important. 8 p.m. we have Representative Carlos Barron, our special guest tonight, and then we'll get back to bills of the week after that around 8:30. And then we got some updates, really important updates on some of the biggest pieces of legislation going through the Capitol this year. So we're going to go over that with you here about 9. How does that sound, Michael?
That sounds great. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to talking, especially talking to Rep. Barone, freshman senator. I'm excited to hear his thoughts on what it's like to be in the Capitol now that he's been there for most of the legislative session now. So I'm really excited to talk to him about his thoughts on being a representative.
Perfect. So I know we mostly focus on committee hearings, but I just at least wanted to bring this up. This is the schedule for tomorrow, folks, down at the state capitol. Look at this is the House. They have 19 bills they're going to be discussing and voting on for third reading. So, like I was saying earlier, most of these bills were supposed to be heard last week, but the debate over Senate Bill 3 went for so long that these bills got pushed back. So I really encourage that any Republican legislators out there keep talking, keep filibustering, get that information out there, really have a voice, have an impact, and slow down this process because that's one way to make a difference. There's a couple bills. We're not going to dig into them because we really want to talk about committee hearings where you can have an impact. But there's a couple bills that people need to be aware of for tomorrow. Senate Bill 77, the modifications to the Colorado Open Records Act, absolutely horrendous piece of legislation. And Senate Bill 86, another bad one to increase government control over social media. So lots of bills. There's 27 bills being voted on tomorrow on second reading. It is absolutely insane. Thankfully, the clock is our ally. They are running out of time, but just wanted to at least bring that up and get some of that information in front of people. So, so perfect here. So we're going to go into some of the bills of the week, and Representative Brown will be joining us at 8 o'clock. So just in a little bit here. But at 8 o'clock, we'll have him on. But right now, we're going to talk about some of the bills going through our committee hearings this week. So Monday, a really jam-packed House Finance Committee. So this is a meeting Monday, March 31st at 1:30 p.m., House Committee Room 112. I really think all of these bills are important. Maybe some of the stuff's a little more glamorous or more interesting than others, but nonetheless, folks, this is what's going on in our state capitol tomorrow. First one I want to talk about is this tax expenditure adjustment. So anytime you see something to do with taxes or tax expenditures, you really got to think about TABOR. Now, the Taxpayers Bill of Rights, if you don't know, is one of the main reasons that Colorado is as free as it is, why our government has a less ability, almost no ability to raise our taxes without asking the voters. Of course, they use fees and other little tricks to get around that. But nonetheless, it's very important there to focus on protecting our taxpayers' Bill of Rights. So one of the ways that these legislators get around increasing taxes, because TABOR requires a vote of the people to raise taxes. Now that's true in almost all not necessarily all jurisdictions across Colorado. Unfortunately, some voters have been duped into giving up their TABOR refunds. But really, there's for the most part at the state level, at the very least, they have to ask us. So, how do they raise taxes? You may be asking without going to the vote of the people. Well, they change the definitions. They change who applies, or how these expenditures, these tax credits, and these little tax rebates and things like that, who it applies to. So, this is just a little trick, a little scam. Let's take a look at the fiscal note here and see what this bill does. So, House Bill 1296 makes various changes to Colorado income tax policy, including income tax credits and exemptions and the tax treatment of certain insurance companies. So, of course, on these fiscal notes, the most important thing is really seeing what this does. We have an increase in state revenue with this bill. So, folks, there's a way for the government to raise our taxes or take money out of the private economy, and that is by changing how they do these things here at the legislature with a bill like this. So, thought this was really important to bring up to people because we're seeing a massive net increase in money coming into the state government. And that is definitely a bad thing. Of course, they're going to have to refund a lot of it back to us under TABOR, thankfully, why TABOR is so important. But nonetheless, a little tricky scheme that the legislator uses to take more of our money out of the economy. What do you think about this one, Michael?
Oh, I think it's yeah, as you say, it's just another scheme to take more money from Coloradans, and um, I think at this point in time we've got to be very concerned about why they're trying to take more money from us. And if you, for example, if you go back to that fiscal note real quick, I want to point something out.
For sure. Let me pull it back up here.
You scroll down, yeah, keep scrolling up just a little bit more. Perfect, right here. Yeah, right here, perfect. So you could see, um, actually, no, this is the wrong table. Can you go back to the other table? I think it's 1A. No, not 1A. Up here. Yeah, right here. Perfect. Um, let's dive into these numbers here. For example, current year state revenue, $19.8 million will come in. But then they have to turn around and refund all that money back essentially. I mean, you could see here, there's less state expenditures the next year, but they're still going to have to refund a lot of that back. And then, especially the out year, we talk about FTEs, 11.6 additional FTEs in 26-27, so 2 years. Plus, they're going to have to fund a lot of that money back. And then we've got an additional 5 FTEs in 2028, 27-28. So it's a scheme that's extremely convoluted that's going to end up just growing the state government, and they're going to do it at the expense of the Colorado taxpayer, and a lot of that money is not even going to be that effective for the government itself. Some of the state expenditures are going to go down. That is fantastic. We always love to see state expenditures decrease. We want to see that portion of the government shrink, but when you're still adding more and more full-time employees. What are you really doing? This is not going to be a bill that's going to truly make Colorado a better place for Coloradans. So, yeah, terrible bill. We need to do what we can to vote against this one. So if you can get down to the Capitol, especially with the other three bills down here, sign up for all four bills and just go hard on these politicians that are just trying to take more and more of your money.
Definitely. And if you look at who's on this bill, Lorena Garcia, Yara Zoke, Mike Weisman, I mean, literally three of the most economically ignorant, some of the worst legislators down there. So always important to pay attention to these bills, especially looking for ways that they might come across to take away our TABOR refunds or go after TABOR itself and cause some extra issues. So
And
importance. Yeah, go ahead.
And just one last thing I want to say, Brandon, if this bill does pass tomorrow, I mean, there's a good chance it will, considering the makeup of that committee. Uh, then I would like to hear somebody like Natalie Minton's perspective on this one because she is a Tabor resource. I love hearing her talk. I mean, I don't know if anybody listened to last week's interview with Brandon and Natalie, but it was a fantastic interview. So please please talk about yeah, so please go out and watch Brandon's interview if you guys did not get a chance to watch it.
Awesome. Appreciate that, Michael. So, in this House Finance Committee, this bill is interesting. We mentioned it briefly before in weeks past, but I wanted to bring it up. It's something Ken DeGraff, Representative DeGraff, has been focusing on for the last several years. This idea of electrical resiliency. There's so much going on in our world these days, and to have a little bit more resilient type of electrical system, of course, is important. But this is such an interesting bill because it deals with a coronal mass ejection, so like a sun flare, solar flare, something like that a geomagnetic storm could mess with our energy systems and things like that. So just wanted to bring this up because it's such an interesting topic. You don't see this kind of legislation discussed very often in our state legislature. So, if it's Representative DeGraff, Senator Pelton, pretty confident that it's going to be a good bill for our liberty and freedom, but nonetheless important piece of legislation to focus on dealing with electrical resiliency. So kind of interesting bill there. Don't want to spend too much time on it, but just want to get it in front of people. Any thoughts on this one, Michael?
No, I agree with you. If you're already down at the Capitol, I mean, and you're going to be testifying on the previous bill, this is in the same exact committee. So stick around and sign up to support a bill. It's nice to be able to go down there and show nuance and say, hey, this bill that you're giving us, this one bill you're giving us is an absolute atrocity. But you know what? This other bill is absolutely a fantastic bill. It's going to help Coloradans. So it's another reminder of pragmatic and practical approaches to um, make Colorado to give Colorado a better future.
Yeah, definitely interesting stuff for sure. Now, of course, there's some bad stuff too, right? There's a really bad bill. I don't know about anybody else, but the idea of socialized medicine, of government-run healthcare is an absolute nightmare. That's a way to guarantee mass poverty, starvation, death, and other despair. Socialism always fails. Giving the government responsibility over our health has been a total disaster since Obamacare, since so many of these other programs came through. But we got a really bad one tomorrow, folks. They've been trying this scheme for years. So, Senate Bill 45, the Healthcare Payment System Analysis, concerns the analysis of a statewide universal healthcare payment system. Now, Michael, you know as well as everybody else out there, people watching probably know the state government's in $1 billion deficit. They have so many unfunded mandates or unfunded little programs that they do not have money for. And could you imagine? I mean, all of the majority of our tax money, where it goes, the biggest expenditures in the state government is healthcare policy. So could you imagine this system? It would be ridiculously expensive. It would be impractical, and it'd be a total top-down control system that would ultimately just cause mass poverty in our society. But of course, this is what they want to do. They want to implement a single payer, nonprofit, publicly financed, that's taxpayer financed, but privately delivered universal healthcare system for Colorado that directly compensates providers. So this whole idea here is they're building a report, they're building data, they're collecting information so that way they can come up with this plan December 31st, 2026. So that way in the 2027 legislative session, they can come in, say, okay, guys, here's the plan. We got to adopt what the task force is telling us and all these reports, and look how wonderful it's going to be. All you got to do is see some of the people on here, some of the three most authoritarian legislators there. So really bad bill, people really need to be aware of. Of course, this bill in of itself is not implementing universal health care, obviously, but it would require the Colorado School of Public Health at the University of Colorado, with assistance from a newly created analysis collaborative, to create a report on model legislation for a universal single payer healthcare system. So, of course, it's still going to cost a lot of money, which they don't have, but they want to come up with a plan to put us all in a state government run healthcare system. Now, does that sound like a nightmare, Michael?
Oh, it sounds like an absolute nightmare. And Colorado has already told told the government that we do not want this. In the midst of this grand transformation that we've seen in Colorado, 2016 Amendment 79, or I believe it's Prop 79, was on the ballot, and not 79, 69, and that was going to add Colorado Care to Colorado, which was single payer health care. It was resoundingly defeated 79 to 21. So basically 4-1 no to yes. Not even a 3-1, a 4-1 no to yes on this bill. So if I were you guys, I would have some very serious concerns because not only from a pragmatic standpoint, this is going to be a disaster for the healthcare in Colorado, but this is a greater threat because of how soundly this was rejected, yet our progressive Democrats in the Gold Dome are still trying to create new ways to shove this down our throats. So this is a fantastic opportunity to get down to the Gold Dome and say, "Hey, we've got three radical Democrats trying to shove this new program through via a study, and you know that study is intentionally biased from the get-go. So why would a single taxpayer dollar, or why should any of your eyes dollars go towards something that is an extremely biased in order to push a unwanted program upon the state of Colorado? It doesn't make any sense. So if you're down there, this is another fantastic reason to go down to the Capitol on Monday and tell them, hell no, this is some garbage. You're going to ruin the health and safety of Coloradans for future generations.
Yeah, and I mean we've already seen it. We saw it this last week where you had state legislators, the Speaker of the House, come out and say, "Hey, look how great this state-funded abortion is going to be. It's actually going to save us money because they'll abort the babies before we have to pay the state funds to going towards the pregnancy and all that, and that's much more expensive." Of course, Will in the chat's bringing up, or yeah, Canada, and then they're just going to say, "Hey, well, why not go ahead and have assisted suicide. It's too expensive to maintain your health. I mean, it's ridiculous schemes that come up. It's all do good, feel good nonsense that never actually works right. So, yeah, socialism fails, folks, as we all know. But Senate Bill 45, this is something you got to keep on your radar. Three absolutely authoritarian legislators trying to force this system on us, as Michael was just saying.
Oh, and one last thing we should bring up is not too long ago we dealt with COVID and what was going on with the Colorado state hospitals, like particularly UC Health. If you didn't have the proper vaccination status, they were denying you healthcare services. So imagine what would happen in Colorado if and what they would deny you healthcare for if something like this passes going forward. So very, very concerning bill.
100%. Great point there. I'm a little excited here about House Bill 1281. I think, we do have some outdated vehicle laws here in Colorado as well as across the United States. But this little Japanese key vehicles, I don't even know if how you say it properly. Maybe somebody in the chat knows. But the idea that now we can have these little roads operate here in Colorado. Of course, they have to pay, I'm sure, the same all these registration fees that are through the roof and stuff like that. But nonetheless, more vehicles. Let's bring in some cheaper foreign vehicles. And hey, I know maybe the Democrats who are trying to fight back against Trump can do something to go against his little tariff thing plan there by bringing in some foreign vehicles or at least making them easier to drive here in Colorado. Hey, maybe that's a good workaround to increase some level of freedom in our state. But kind of looking forward to this one. I hope it passes. I'd love to see more of these types of bills pass, where we get a little bit ounce of freedom, nothing too great, but there it is. Any thoughts on this one, Michael?
No, I agree with you on this one. I'd love to see us update our laws so that way more people can drive on the roads with the vehicles they choose. I mean, it's kind of silly, especially in a lot of the rural communities. Excuse me, farmers can really only afford what they could afford, and other times there might be certain vehicles that might be more that are a little bit uncharacteristic to what you might see on a farm, like a key vehicle, but it might be absolutely perfect for what that individual farmer or that rancher might need. So, I think stuff like this is going to be fantastic, and especially if they could possibly drive on the road to go from property to property to property. I know a lot of farmers, for example, my dad was a farmer as a kid until he had to give it up when I was 11. But what he would do is he would cash rent properties. We would have our property, and then he had another property that he rented across the street. And if you can't drive your vehicles across certain public roads, that's a little ridiculous, and it's not going to be conducive to a good farming environment. We need to let these people in these rural communities drive what's going to be best for them.
Yeah, and just to point out, people here, this bill has passed through its first committee, Transportation, Housing, and Local Government, is on to finance. They did amend it. So, I mean, it sounds like a good thing. While they had four amendments they added to this bill, but nonetheless, sounds like this bill is going to make it all the way through. So, this key or K vehicles, as somebody in the chat saying, is potentially one that's going to make it through. So, hey, so at least one little small thing to look forward to. We always got to look for those little glimmers of hope.
Absolutely.
So also on Monday in the Judiciary Committee, look at this committee. This committee is packed. Judiciary Committee is meeting tomorrow, Monday at 1:30 p.m. in the old Supreme Court. I really wanted to bring this one up because there's some good, there's some bad. And of course, the pro-crime stances of our state government is definitely making some headlines. There's a lot of major issues with how unsafe Colorado is. And I really think the crime issue could be a driving factor come 2026 because average normal Coloradans want to live in a safe community. They want to punish criminals. So anything to do with crime, I think, needs to be talked about. The votes of these legislators needs to be recorded. So election time, when that comes around, people know how these people voted. But interesting bill here, House Bill 1147. Look at the names there. I mean, it gives me shivers, I guess, when I see those names on any bill, right? It's just bad
Yeah.
stuff. But one of the bad things about this bill here, this fairness and transparency in municipal court. The bill caps the maximum incarceration sentence for a municipal violation that has a comparable state law crime at the same level as the state level offense, same length as the state level offense. So what that means here is, hey, the state government has really soft on crime policies. They're letting people out on the streets with multiple felony charges, with on a personal reconnaissance bond, bond there, letting them get out way too easy, commit these same crimes over and over. So, one I thought would be, hey, let's have local governments kind of make sure that they're putting these people in jail. Well, this bill goes against that principle. It goes against this idea of home rule or a decentralization of power. Basically says, if the state law, you can't be more strict than the state law. So there you go. So, the state government we know is so soft on crime and does all of these things, but at the same time, they want to make sure local governments are not more strict than the state government. When there is no comparable state level offense, the maximum period of incarceration is capped at the maximum for a state level petty offense. Mandatory minimums and increased penalties based on prior convictions are prohibited unless the person is convicted of a municipal offense for which there is a comparable state offense or of an infraction that allows imposition of the same mandatory minimum or increased penalties based on prior conviction. The bill also caps a consecutive municipal sentence at 2 times the highest charge in the case. The bill clarifies that municipal court defendants have a right to counsel, and the municipal defense counsel have the same notice, case information, opportunity to meet with their clients as do state level defense counsel. Current law prohibits paying indigent municipal defense counsel in a fixed or flat payment structure if the municipality prosecutes domestic violence cases. This bill applies the prohibition to all municipalities. All municipal court proceedings are required to be open to public observation. Here's the one part of the bill I do like. Virtual observation is required for all in custody proceedings, and prompt resolution of municipal cases is required. So here we go. We see another attempt by the state government to impose its will on communities across the state and to ensure that the state government is the one ultimately holding the power, these levers of power over our smaller communities across Colorado. Any other thoughts on this one, Michael?
No, I think this one is very interesting. We've been one of the bills we discussed was Rep. Bradley's bill that protected people against child rapists and making sure that they didn't just serve probation or time served. A bill like this, if there is a local municipality that has a mandatory minimum on something like child rape, guess what? That's no longer the case. This is basically guaranteeing child rapists only serve probation for their horrific acts. So I think this is ridiculous. Libertarians are absolutely against something like nonviolent crime being illegal, but there is nothing fair or transparent about this. This is another attempt to reward predators to our state. And I'm extremely concerned, particularly about the individuals who are a part of this bill, who are the prime sponsors. Mabry, Amabile, Weissman, Velasco. I mean, these are some of the biggest threats to freedom in Colorado.
Definitely. And Mike Dickerson there in the chat says this bill is about consolidation of power at the state level. They want to remove home rule. Definitely. These state legislators hate the idea that municipalities or counties or other local governments can kind of do their own thing. We've seen so many attacks on them, whether it's housing, zoning, and other things. And of course, crime is part of that to say, hey, listen, you cannot be more strict than the state government, and we're not going to be strict at all. So there you go, folks, creating a bad situation. So interesting, Bill. Definitely got more to talk about here. We're going to be going into Tuesday. That just covers what we heard on Monday. We do have our special guest joining us here. So we do have Representative Carlos Barron. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Really appreciate you taking the time on a Sunday to come and talk to us. And I think you're muted there. We can see you, but it does
Yep,
say you're muted.
yep. I did see that. I was just trying to push it there, and I trying to move this so I can place this camera right.
Hey, perfect. Well, how are you doing? Do you mind introducing yourself for the people who might not know who you are?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Carlos Barron. I represent the good people of House District 48, and I've been doing so now for what now 3 months, and enjoying every minute of it. Just trying to make this state a little bit better. So, learning a little bit more, getting my footing in here. So, enjoying it so far.
Wonderful. And I don't know if you've met Michael Vance. He's the legislative director of the Libertarian Party.
No, I have not.
Yeah, it's great to meet you, Rep Roan.
How you doing, Michael?
Good, good. Hey, and please don't get offended about the because I cannot roll my R's whatsoever. My wife is Hispanic, and when we were dating, she tried to teach me how to do it, and she just started laughing about a minute in. So I
No,
apologize.
it's perfectly fine. I never get offended. I know people can't roll their R's. I try to teach them, but it's not something you can teach very easily. But yeah, it doesn't offend me at all. People call me Baron, Barone. My friends in high school, they couldn't even do it, so they just called me Bear. So it's not a big deal to me.
Hey, Bear's a pretty cool nickname.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure it is. Sorry about the camera moving and moving here.
Hey, no
Not a
worries.
problem.
Hey, I just want to thank you very much for all of your fight down at the state capitol, your speeches you gave on Senate Bill 3. It was great to see you up there. I know
Oh,
not a lot of freshman legislators were up there willing to take the time at the mic to push back and to have such strong statements. When you said, I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees, I mean, that went viral on social media. It was awesome to see. You had thousands of Coloradans saying, hell yeah, definitely agree with that. So can you tell us a little bit about how everything went down with Senate Bill 3 and the other anti-gun bills we've seen?
yeah, well, there's a lot of anti-gun bills coming in to the legislature this year, and first of all, something about me is that I'm one of those that don't want to keep quiet. Like the reason I got into this position is because of the reason that I'm tired. I'm tired of all this of just being quiet and people not knowing what's going on here, and I want to be able to express that so people get more involved and listen to what we're doing and listen to what's going on at the state capitol. My goal is to get more and more people involved and more people at least knowing what's going through the state capitol. And those gun bills are just one of those things that I can't keep my mouth shut. I just can't. I can't sit around and let this just go by idly. Unfortunately, a lot of it is going to go by because we don't have the numbers. But the least we can do is talk to it and then let the other side know what they are doing, what the unintended consequences of these bills that are coming through, and just put it in their mind, like, you know what, you might be able to push this through, but we're gonna make you understand why it's a bad idea, and we're gonna let your constituents know that what you are doing here is wrong. So that's the one thing that I really want to do, and I'm pretty vocal on those kinds of deals, especially um, stuff that's going to affect people's livelihood. It's going to affect business in the state. There's a lot of anti-landlord bills coming through. There's 19 total, and on every single one of them, Dan Wu, Representative Dan Wu, and myself, we usually take the lead on that because we are landlords. I'm a small-time landlord. I'm not making thousands of dollars on end. I'm providing a service to people that can't, they can't qualify for a mortgage. We understand that times are tough. Interest rates are super high. So we're providing this service for them to have a roof over their head, but they keep attacking us, not knowing that all this cost that they think are helping people with affordable living is actually being those costs are coming to us, the landlords, and it's not right. It's not right for us to be able to provide that service and then pay more for providing a service. And so I'm very 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 vocal, and I want to keep doing that way. I want to keep going that way. So I'm enjoying it.
Uh, Rep Roan, we appreciate everything we've been seeing from you down at the
Mhm.
down at the state capitol so far. With this being your first legislative session as a freshman rep,
Mhm.
what has been what are some of the things that you did not necessarily expect to see in your first term as a representative of the people?
Um, Everything that I've been going through and I've been seeing, I've been expecting. Like last year, I shadowed now Congressman Gabe Evans, who I took his seat in House District 48. I was going down to the Capitol as much as I could, shadowing him, just getting the feel of things, getting to see what's going on. And Last year was kind of similar. They were attacking oil and gas more last year, but this year it's more guns and landlords. Trying to circumvent TABOR and how the budget deficit is in the state right now. They're trying to play shell games with the money. Like SB3, as you know, is pretty much a shell game of how they rated DPD. I'm sorry, Department of Parks and Wildlife, and they're just playing shell games with that money, and it's not right. But that's the way they're doing it, and I'm not a that's you know what, coming back to it, that's the most surprising thing I've seen so far is that the shell games with the money of what they're doing with these bills. These bills should have fiscal notes on them, but they're playing these shell games to take money off other departments as a loan. It's just surprising to me how they're doing this and how they're getting away with this. And we're bringing this up on the floor battles. We're bringing this up in committees, but it seems like they don't really care, and they keep doing it. And the people need to know what's going on.
Definitely. I think that's one of the biggest issues. You hit the nail on the head that, you started off talking about this, and I love that you keep bringing it up. This idea that the public isn't aware, right?
Mhm.
They're able to get away with all of these things in darkness because the media is so compliant with so many of these Democratic legislators. They don't want to question them. They don't want to challenge them. And they're not going to take the time to really investigate and to look. So you
Uh,
talked about the shell game with the money. What else do the people of Colorado need to know about what's happening down at the state legislature that's not being reported in the media?
Well, the one thing that the public should know is that they're playing these they're moving these bills forward saying it's a good intention. Yeah, I'm sure it's good intentions, but they don't understand the unintended consequences of those bills. They're saying, oh, we're going to help cost of living, we're going to help the tenants, how they're overpaying and this and that, but they don't understand that the overpayment and the cost of living doesn't necessarily mean that the landlords or the people that are building the houses are the evil people. It's actually it's actually the overregulation of these industries. When you overregulate an industry, of course, the cost of that overregulation goes to the builders, goes to the landlords, goes to all these industries that they're not going to take a loss on their they're a business. They have to make money. I'm sure they do, but they're not going to take a loss on it. That cost is going to go down to the consumer. They don't understand that. They think that they're helping the people, but when they're actually just making it more, they're making it worse. They're making it more expensive for the people. Like Representative Gonzalez ran that bill to try to lower the cost of eggs by allowing farms to have caged eggs again, which would uptake the production, and then it would be cheaper. Unfortunately, that was shut down too. Even though we did let them know this is going to help the cost of eggs. This is going to help the consumer in the long run. But they just don't understand. They just want to keep pushing that narrative of social agenda and thinking that they're going to help the people when they're really not.
Oh, Michael, I think you're muted there, or I can't
Oh
hear you.
yeah, thank you. I was. You bring up a good point. I want to bring up. I want to go back to something that you mentioned a little bit ago
Mhm.
with these shell games.
Mhm.
Um, One of the big things that they're trying to hide is the money and where the money's coming from. But at the end of the day, it's going to cost Coloradans more money.
Yeah.
One of the things we heard about in the State of the State address, and I bring this up all the time on this call, on this weekly live stream, it's the $1.2 billion shortfall
Mhm.
that Polis brings up all the time. And at the end of the day, we know they're going to use that for Tabor. But what I'm concerned about is there's a lot of real issues with Senate Bill 3 and Pittman Roberts money being
Yeah.
stripped away from the state of Colorado because of what's going to happen with DPW and their new role under Senate Bill 3 if it gets signed or is allowed to pass, go beyond the date for polls to veto it. So,
Yeah.
my question to you is what's going to happen with the Pittman Roberts money? Can you explain a little bit more about that? And I'm also concerned because we are hearing about I believe it Amendment 79 in the speaker's bill with Lorena Garcia to start funding abortions with state Medicaid funds. We are also concerned about that because that means for every dollar due to the Hyde Amendment federally, every dollar that goes to state that goes to Medicaid abortions from the state cannot be matched on a one-to-one ratio anymore through the federal government.
Mhm.
So that's going to increase state funding for abortions now as well, on top of the additional Medicaid funds that they're initially projecting to spend. So I'm concerned. So my question to you becomes, overall, what are the best ways to fight the shell games in the state budget that the Colorado Democrats are trying to pull?
Well, first of all, I'm gonna give you the best way to fight these shell games is by increasing the numbers on the other side. Unfortunately, the numbers are against us right now. We can talk logic and talk what their agenda is going to cost the Coloradans, but all day long. But at the same time, we can't really do anything without numbers. The one thing that we've always been trying to do with these shell game bills like SB3 is try to put an amendment into those bills that say if this bill endangers federal funding, this bill will become null. Of course, everybody votes it down on the Democrat side, but at least we're trying to do that, and that's one of the ways that we're trying to do it. Now, to go back to the Pittman Roberts thing, yes, that's definitely going to be in danger because Pittman Roberts states that funding cannot be used for anything else but Department of Wildlife, Parks and Wildlife. This shell game that they're playing is taking a loan from the DPW to pay for this SB3 Frankenstein of a bill, and it's going to put in danger that 60, I think it's 61 or 63 million dollar fund from the federal government that we're not going to be able to get anymore because it was illegally raided. What they're trying to do is trying to make that money go towards the the sheriff's departments, which the sheriff's departments are going to have to go do the background check and everything like that to get your permission. And this is just for a permission from the sheriff's department to take a class with DPW, a safety class, 12-hour class that's going to be separated in 2 days. And then after you get that certificate, then you are allowed to buy a weapon, which it's ridiculous. It's putting more steps to people that are trying to buy weapons, and at the same time, the sheriffs are in charge of repaying that loan from DPW. So that means the sheriffs can charge whatever they want for that background check, for getting their permission card. And let's just say this. Let's just say the people that actually apply for this is way under what they estimated. The sheriffs can now hike up that cost because they have to repay DPW. So that this is something that's truly concerning, not just in the face that we're going to lose federal funding for DPW, but now who knows that the sheriff's department is going to be able to repay that loan. So these shell games are pretty concerning, and they should be concerning to the people of Colorado. And hopefully, the people of Colorado emails the governor as much as they can to let them know this is concerning. We do not want this because there could be a danger that we're going to be even more in the shortfall. Now, going back to the shortfall, I'm sorry, what was your other question? You kind of had a lot in there, but I kind of try to start going on one.
Sorry about that. The Medicaid funding that we will lose through the funding of abortions in Colorado. I mean, I know because Colorado, I know with libertarians, you've got pro-life libertarians, you've got pro-choice libertarians, but regardless, we don't like state funding. So all libertarians can be against that. So my question is with the $1.2 billion shortfall and Medicaid funding being lost on a federal level, how much is that going to affect Colorado as well?
Oh, it's going to affect Colorado tremendously, especially because a lot of people, especially in my district, they don't want taxpayer-funded abortions. Taxpayer-funded abortions. Now, for one thing, abortions is an issue that I have my own personal feelings for, but I have to keep that to myself because now I represent a whole district. And I have to go with what the people really want. And in my district, it's hit and miss. I'm really getting yeses and nos on all sides. But I for one thing, I do not agree with taxpayer abortions. The people should not be paying for that. The people, especially the ones that are against it, why should they have to pay for an abortion for somebody else? That's totally out of line, and it shouldn't be happening. And it is going to affect are, especially with President Trump in office now, he has made it very clear that states that do not follow the federal law will lose federal funding. We've already lost federal funding. I believe it's like 120 million now that we've been held back from the federal government, and this is just going to make it worse. And we keep pushing this on the well. We keep pushing this out. We're losing federal funding, people. We have a new administration coming into the White House, and all you're doing is poking them in the eye. You're poking President Trump in the eye, and it's going to come back and bite you.
Yeah, well said, 100%. I think President Trump's probably looking for some fights with some of these blue states because they're fighting.
Mhm.
They want to fight him. I mean, that's so much of what they're
Yeah.
doing down there at the state
Mhm.
legislature. All the Democrat legislators, the governor, of
Yeah.
course, it's all about Trump. So, picking that fight is a losing battle for the people of Colorado, especially when it comes
Mhm.
to the funding, like you were just talking about.
Yeah.
But one of the bills I'm really excited about this year that you're sponsoring, you're the prime sponsor on House Bill 1127, the register and drive surplus military vehicles. Can you tell people a little bit about that bill?
Yeah, that bill came from the Senate district of Senator Byron Pelton. He gave me that idea because one of his constituents wanted him to run that bill a couple years ago. He couldn't run it. Last year he tried. I don't think it was him. Another senator tried it, and it didn't even make it out of committee. And then I took it on this year, and the backstory with that is before 2019 this was allowed. People were able to register and plate retired military vehicles, but there was a Senate bill in 2019 that came through and unintentionally took that off. So they didn't realize that was going to be taken off, and they just let it go. One of the reasons I took it on is Senator Byron Pelton brought me that idea, and then I have a lot of because I have one constituent right outside of Fort Lupton here, Willie Taylor. He owns that gas station on 85. He has an old Jeep, World War II Jeep Willie, and he was able to plate that and register it. Last year they wouldn't allow him to do it anymore. And he has an old military vehicle he uses on his farm as a water truck, and he used to plate that too. They're not allowing it anymore. So that's one of the reasons also that I'm starting to do that. It's a great bill. It's freedom. It's giving people options. If you want to do that, go ahead and do it. There shouldn't be any any regulation on that. It's actually going to bring revenue to the state, and in a time when we actually need it. We're in a 1.2 billion dollar shortfall. We need that money, and so I was able to take it out of Transportation Committee. Of course, I amended it a little bit. I had to change some things. One of the things that I amended is there's a limit to, I think it's 1,500 miles per year you can drive it, which the collectors that I talked to a collectors club. They said that's perfectly fine because our insurance limits it the same way anyway to be able to insure these vehicles. And their main concern was, oh, we're going to be seeing these Humvees driving on the road every day. They're not going to use them as daily drivers. These vehicles are expensive. They're expensive to maintain. They're very hard to drive. So they're not going to use it as daily drivers. These people use them as collector vehicles, taken to parades, taken to car shows to educate the youth about the history of military vehicles. That's usually what you see them for, or even use them for a farm equipment. Some of these vehicles are used for water trucks, farm equipment. So it's not one of those concerns that they should be concerned about, to be honest. And I was able to take it out of Transportation Committee, and then I went to Finance because it had a fiscal note. Apparently, they have to pay $61,000 to put the programming for those vehicles back into the system, into the DMV system, which was taken out in 2019. So they paid $61,000 to take it out, and now they have to pay $61,000 again to put it back in. Which okay, that's fine, perfectly fine. But now I'm waiting in appropriations to present it in appropriations before it hits the House floor. Hopefully that's here pretty soon because I'm running out of time, and hopefully I can get this through before the calendar ends. But in appropriations, I'm not worried because I got a new fiscal note. It's the same state expenditure, but the revenue coming in from the first year is about 54,000. So it's actually just going to cost the state $7,000 to implement the first year out. The second year, there's no expenditure with the same amount of revenue, and that's going to continue year after year. So I'm pretty confident that I can get it out of appropriations with that argument that it's going to bring in revenue to the state. Like I said, hopefully it gets presented here pretty soon, and I can get it on the House floor and get it to the Senate.
If I remember correctly, Rep Brown, you are from the oil and gas industry, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
I want what I'm curious is, have you heard anything coming down the pipeline about additional regulations on the oil and the gas industry? I know you previously you brought up earlier oil and gas was a huge topic and they didn't really come to a conclusion on anything major until the final week of the legislative session last year.
Mhm.
Do you know if they're planning on doing anything additional for this year, or are you hearing any rumors about something big next year trying to bring further regulations on oil and gas? I mean, we need more energy independence. I mean, we're
Mhm.
seeing it more than ever. I mean, regardless of how you feel about what's going on internationally and what's going on at a federal level with regulations, what Trump's doing, I think it kind of I think it makes I think everything going on makes it pretty clear that we need more oil and gas
Mhm.
and we need more energy independence here in Colorado and we need to produce it locally. So I'm kind of one of my big concerns is long term, what are we doing to help turn the tide on these regulations so that way we could be a bit more freer and allow oil and gas to thrive?
Yeah, thank you for that question. It's great. Right now, first of all, I want to start off with we really can't play offense at the moment because of the numbers. I'm always coming back to this numbers thing. And this it is a numbers game. Well, unfortunately, we are in the minority. We're not a super minority anymore. You know, but we're still in a minority. We do not have the numbers to get these deregulation bills through. Right now, there is nothing going on that I heard of, besides the fact that there might be a bill being presented that they want to be the state wants to be at net zero by 2040 instead of 2050, which is originally the way it was, which is probably going to go through my committee, Energy Committee. But right now, the oil and gas industry has not been attacked because of the reason last year, like you said, in the final week, they came to an agreement to have uh, a ceasefire, basically, for the next 3 years. The oil and gas industry will not be attacked for the next 3 years, and the big three, Oxy, Chevron, and Black Hills, made a deal with the state. I call it the heist of 2024 because the state charged them $100 and some million to not touch the industry for the next 3 years, and they kept to it so far. I'm here just in case they break that deal, but I am not going to break that deal for those two reasons. That there is a deal in place for the next 3 years. It's better not to be bothered for the next 3 years and continue to operate the way they're operating. And then number two, the numbers. We don't have the numbers to do it. We just need more people to come forward, run for office in these swing districts and some of these Democrat districts to get our numbers up. So then we can start playing offense and deregulating this industry. Of course, we got to keep the safety aspect in place. Safety is very important to me. I understand that. And the oil and gas industry is a very dangerous place. But if you keep the safety regulations in place and then deregulate all the other stuff, this industry can continue to thrive in the state. And I know there's been a bill this year to that Representative Winter and Representative Valdez brought forward in energy to recategorize nuclear energy as clean energy, and that one went through. I believe it's in the Senate already. But yeah, that one went through, and that's a big step forward too. As you know, in my district in Platteville, we used to have the Fort St. Brain right there in Platteville. That was a nuclear power plant, and now that the nuclear technology has advanced, you know, by leaps and bounds, I would not be in opposition to have another nuclear power plant here in the northern part of the state, and then in Pueblo too. They're very interested in having a nuclear power plant down there. So that's another step forward that to keep our energy dependence, you know, just keep it here, keep our energy independence because we do need it. We do need more energy, and oil and gas industry was all for that as well. I've talked to a lot of the people that I trust in that industry about that nuclear bill, and they were all for it. They're like, yes, let's do it. So it's a good step forward for us right now. But right now, it's really hard to be playing offense in that industry.
Yeah, great points all around. I really like that you keep coming back to the numbers. That's really what it all comes down to, right? Is
Yep,
just
yep.
who's got the majority, who's in the minority, and that's just it. Unfortunately it's as simple as that. But I've noticed you are on some different pieces of legislation with some Democrats, Representative Barron.
Mm,
So, where do you think there is an opportunity to advance liberty and freedom? I really like your bill on the municipalities on the metropolitan districts 1219. I
mhm,
think you're the only Republican on that one with a
mhm,
handful of Democrats. But Jody in the chat's asking, how can we engage this bipartisan topics in bills to increase our liberty and freedom? She's specifically asking about election integrity. I don't know that there's much opportunity there because the Democrats don't want to change anything with elections, of course, because they're winning. Why would they?
mhm.
With the way the elections are structured. But do you see any other opportunities that, especially maybe with some outside pressure, with people getting involved, or some other types of bills that could be some wins for Colorado and our freedom and liberty, but that Democrats would support?
Um, yes, there are opportunities for those bills for Democrats to support. It's just those far left Democrats that really don't understand, and they to be able to convince them is extremely difficult. It's extremely difficult to show them the light on these bills. They're basically what their argument is that they're voting their district, and those districts are pretty liberal, unfortunately, and I understand that. Coming back to that bill for metro districts, that was a good bill that we brought forward. It's just to let people know um, how the money for that they pay, the fees that they pay when they close on the house, how the metro districts use that money, what they pay for, what they maintain. It is very important for them to know that, because it's really a surprise when they bring up that fee. I'm like, whoa, 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 what's this going on? Why am I paying this much? What am I paying this for? This will allow them to understand what they are paying for. Metro districts, I know a lot of people don't really like them, but they are important for growing a community, because they do pay for all that stuff up front. They pay for the line, the sewage, the water, the roads, the sidewalks. They pay for all that up front, and then you're paying for that in your mortgage, which you should be paying for that. But this is allowing to show you what you are paying for. But it's something that it's really important, and fortunately, it got some bipartisan support. And a lot of people here in this district, they in my district in Fort Lupton, they were very grateful for that, because a lot of people don't understand how that works, and just giving them more of an education of how local government works is great for them, and then hopefully that triggers something in their head. They can get more involved with local government. That's what we need. And I'm at the state capitol defending local government on a daily basis. I'm coming from city council here in Fort Lupton, and the legislators that are coming from local government are usually the best ones, because they understand what we are doing at the state capitol, how it affects these municipalities, how it affects these counties, how it affects these school boards, which they know better how to govern their own people in that small municipality. We shouldn't be doing that on a one size fits all basis here at the state, at the Capitol. So that's how we're letting these other people, these other legislators that don't have that local government experience, understand what they are doing. And unfortunately, it just sometimes it goes on deaf ears.
Uh, I want to read a question in the chat real quick. Rep Barone, what have you heard about the XL price increases and time of use coming this summer? And are there any is there any production coming to replace Comanche?
I'm not quite sure. I did hear something about Comanche, but uh, I haven't gotten any details from the person I usually talk to on energy, and that person that represents Excel Energy. I've been talking to them a lot lately, but only on bills that I've been seeing in Energy Committee coming through. So I can definitely come back to that if needs be. I can post a video about energy and Comanche and stuff like that. So right now I don't have any of the details, to be honest. And then I was unprepared. I apologize. All my paperwork is at the office in Denver, and I didn't bring it with me this weekend. It was a pretty hectic weekend, as you know. We had our reorg meeting yesterday in Colorado Springs, and I had to hurry up and get all my stuff done at the office before I had to do that. So
It's yeah, you've had a flurry of things to do over the last few days and the
mm.
last few weeks as well. So we just appreciate you being here. So thank you for
No, of
that.
course.
So, in terms of turning around Colorado, right, we got to get the numbers changed. We got to get the Democrats to lose some seats in 2026.
Mhm.
What's your advice to people who are either maybe thinking about running for office, who are maybe, unsure or cautious about doing that, making that jump into being a candidate? Any advice, any suggestions? And then maybe for other people out there who aren't necessarily going to be candidates, but what can they do to help on the outside there? What would you say?
Of course. So it's a great question there, Brandon. I appreciate that. The one thing that people can, if they're thinking about getting involved or running for office, is get a hold of your local county, either whatever party you're affiliated with, your GOP or your county Libertarian Party, and let them know. You know what? I am interested in running. What do I need to do? Connect me with people. The thing is that you have to be connected with people so you can understand what you're getting yourself into, and then just let them know who you are, and that way when they explain to you what you're getting yourself into, you can make a better decision. You know what? I'm ready for this. I can do this. Let's go ahead and do this. They will help you with the whole process. Your local party, county party is going to does great job in helping you get through the process. The same thing for somebody that doesn't want to run but wants to help. Local county parties are great for that. They will put you in touch with all the people you need to know, and they will give you ideas of how to help. Like for example, the big thing about a campaign is walking doors. That's the big thing about a campaign. There's apps that you can use that the county party will provide, and give you literature for candidates. Or if you're a candidate, it'll give you your literature, and you can walk the doors and talk to the people directly. That's grassroots, and that's great for getting votes. Great for getting people to know who you are and what you are for, what you stand for, what you can do, and then let them know exactly what's going on in the state and why you should be placed in that position. And that's how I started. I was, like I said, I was asked to run for the Gabe Evans seat when he decided to run for Congress. And the first thing I did was get in touch with all the people in this county. And then I represent also Adams County and Weld County. I got a hold of the Adams County GOP. I went to their meetings. I had talks there with the people in Adams County, had talks to the people here in Weld County. And that really goes a long way when people start knowing who you are. Word of mouth is very strong in those counties, especially at the local level. When you go to your city council meetings and let them know, hey, I am so and so, and I'm planning on running for House District so and so. I would really love your support. This is who I am. This is what I want to do for you. That really goes a long way for people to understand who you are and get to know you. Um, uh, like I said, I ran a campaign where I didn't have a primary and I didn't have a general election, but I was still working because I was helping out other candidates in Adams County and in Weld County get elected, like Representative Gonzalez. I was helping him out a lot. I was helping out the campaign for Gabe Evans, which got me out walking doors for him. And at the same time, I was letting the people know, hey, I'm going to be your next representative. If you have any questions for me as well, I can help you out. And then I talked about Gabe. Then I talked about Ryan, and I let them know all that. So that's it goes a long way when you talk to people at their door. Unfortunately, sometimes they get greeted very very nicely at the doors, but just got to keep going. You don't use confrontation, just keep going.
I think those are great words. I really appreciate that. We need all the local, we need all the state candidates to run that are humanly possible, and we need to really bring a sense of unity together to Colorado. Because at the end of the day, we have one goal, and that's to beat the Democrats.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's why, for example, we signed the Liberty Pledge. We wanted to get good people. For example, Rebecca Kelty. Rep Kelty won her Senate district by 3 votes. Your predecessor won her. He signed a Liberty Pledge as well with Eric Joss, and he was able to bridge that gap that was there from 22, and he was able to overtake then Rep Caraveo at the time, and he's currently sitting in Washington right now.
Yeah.
So, with all that being said, we wanted to know because there also has been a lot of hostility within the GOP. Uh, that's just kind of also something that happens within political parties. I know we've seen some in ours. The Democrats have also seen some. There was a lawsuit and a restraining order that seems to get brushed under the rug a lot with I believe it was it Rep Bacon
No.
or I can't remember. Oh, I believe it was Leslie Harrod at the time,
Yeah.
actually.
Hmm.
So the chat brought up a great question. Are you optimistic about the new GOP leadership, and how do you see Libertarians and Republicans working together for Colorado in 2026?
I'm always optimistic with my party. I stayed out of that drama. I know there was some drama with the GOP. I stayed out of that drama because I was more for unity, and I didn't want to make it any worse. The one thing that I want to do is being able to unite, and I'm a good uniter, to be honest. I talked to all of my colleagues on the Republican side in the House, and there's two sides of them too, and I talk to all of them. I get along with all of them. That's the one thing that I've focused on doing as in my political career, is being able to bridge those gaps when there is a gap. So I stayed out of that, and I'm always optimistic. I would be optimistic if that went either way. Of course, I had my vote, and that I'll keep that to myself because I don't want to create any more drama. But if it would have went either way, I would have kept working. I would have kept working to try to unite us, to try to get more Republicans elected in 2026. I would have kept working with whomever won. I did well. It's pretty wide open now. I seconded the nomination for Brietta Horn. I talked to her for a long time, and I've known her during my campaign. I saw her everywhere. But yeah, I seconded the nomination for Brietta Horn. I gave a little speech on how I met her and what she has done for the party and for some of these elected officials and campaigns. And fortunately she won, and that's good. But I'm looking forward to working with the whole GOP leadership again, and trying to get more uh, candidates elected. And then what was that second question? I'm sorry.
The second question was, how do you see Libertarians and Republicans working
Oh, yeah.
together in Colorado for 2026?
Well, libertarians and Republicans have had a history of working together. As far as I've been in politics, I've never heard of any downfall from us working together. There hasn't been any negative things going on. So we do have a good connection with each other because we do believe in the same thing: we freedom, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's what we believe in, and that should be the bottom line. And yes, I do believe that we can work together. And I've worked with a lot of people that are libertarian. So I don't like I said, I'm a connector. I'm a connector, and I want to be able to have that connection with everybody. So yes, we do. I do look forward to working with libertarians in the future as well. We all believe in the Constitution, and that's as you can hear on a lot of my well speeches. I bring up the Constitution a lot, and that's something that we have in common. And I'm looking forward to working with all of you.
I'm
Awesome.
great. We're grateful to hear that.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, we got to come together, beat the Democrats, turn our state around for sure. We will have a free state someday. But Representative Brown, I know it's getting late. We'll let you go here. But kind of last question, and you got a
Yeah.
busy week ahead of you for sure. But so every week during the legislative session, we do these live streams, really informing people about the bills that are being heard in committee
Mhm.
during the week, because we want to encourage people to get involved. To show up at committee hearings, to even if
Mhm.
they can do remote testimony, reach out to these committee members, have a voice. And committee hearings are really the great opportunity for individuals here in Colorado to get involved.
Mhm.
What advice or suggestions do you have, or what have you seen that ways that people can be more effective? People watching this, people out here just living their lives in Colorado, but maybe there's a bill that's really important to them and they want to speak or they want to get involved. How can people have a voice? How can they be more effective in committee hearings? And what else do you recommend?
uh, the most powerful thing is word of mouth. Like I said, in campaigns, it works the same in these bills. And if you have a bill that you're really against, the word of mouth and letting the people, your neighbors, know what's going on. Let them know, hey, did you hear about this bill that's coming in through the state house? It's going to be in committee next week. This is really going to hurt us. Let me share the link with you. That really makes a difference when the word of mouth gets spread out throughout the whole state. A lot more people get involved. A lot more people want to go and testify either in person or online. We enjoy hearing these testimonies because I get talked to by a lot of lobbyists. Hey, how are you feeling about this bill? Are you a yes or a no? Like, you know what? I'm never gonna give you a yes or no answer. I always tell them this. I really want to hear testimony. And that's what I listen to. I listen to testimony because when I'm on the fence unless it's like the gun bills, I'm a definite no on that. I always tell them no. I'm definitely going to vote no on this. But When I'm on the fence on these bills, I always tell the lobbyists like they try to get my vote out before it goes through committee. I'm like, no, I never give them that because testimony is very important. And I can tell you, you can ask any lobbyist. I make them work for my vote because I do truly listen in committee, and I truly listen to the testimony on how this is affecting the people. And then I do my own homework. I call my city council. I call my county commissioners. I call my sheriff. Hey, this bill's coming up. It's going to affect you. What do you think? And they tell me their point of view. And they really appreciate that. Every time I see my county commissioners, hey, you know what? We really appreciate you bringing this up forward to us, and we really appreciate you calling us and letting us know that you're going to be hearing it in committee and hearing our side of it. So that really does makes a difference. Like I said, testimony is very important. Word of mouth, please. If you hear something, let your neighbors know. Let 2 or 3 or 4 neighbors know. They'll let 2, 3, 4 more neighbors know. It just gets spread, and that's the way that you can really help.
Awesome. Well, very well said, sir. We really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. Please keep us up to date if you hear any important news or any important information coming out these last month and a half or so of the session here. But yeah, appreciate you, and thank you so much for joining us tonight.
37 days left in session. That's one thing that I'm really excited about. We cannot hurt the state anymore after 37 days. So keep in there, Colorado.
Hang in there for a very strong and difficult 37 days. I mean,
Yeah.
they always like to save their best tricks for the end. So
Yeah.
hang
Yeah.
in there, stay strong, sir. And we really appreciate everything you're doing down at the Capitol.
I appreciate you having me here today, and thank you for giving me something I can get my voice out and let people know how important it is to get involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Road.
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. Take care.
You too.
Well, folks, don't go anywhere yet. We still have a lot to talk about. We're still going to go through the rest of the bills being heard this week. Don't worry, there's only a handful of them. We're not going to take the rest of your night, but we probably got another good hour to go here. So please hang in there, folks. This chat is awesome too. Just a big kudos and shout out to everybody in the chat. So much great information, connections being made, information being exchanged. Really love what's going on here on the YouTube chat. But we got some more bills to talk about here. But before we get there, Michael, what did you think about what Representative Barron had to say?
I thought it was fascinating. You saw a guy that was learning the system, uh, but it was really cool to see that he was prepared for it. He was able. I thought it was fantastic that Rep Evans at the time was working, was letting Rep Barone shadow him last year, so that way he knew what to expect going into what's going on at the Gold Dome.
Definitely, yeah, and his background too of serving on the Fort Lupton City Council, of course, really helped prepare him as well. And I'm always a big proponent of that. It's crazy sometimes and we're going to see a lot in 2026. I mean, forewarn people, you just know what's going to happen. There's going to be somebody you've never heard of pop up and run for governor. Some Republican is going to say, "I'm running for U.S. Senate. I'm running for Congress." Nobody's ever heard of them before. They've never even been to a city council meeting. And it's like, how are these people going to be effective? How are they going to know what's going on? So I'm a big proponent of, kind of start at that local level, like we always talk about, run for city council, get involved there, then get up to that state or county level. And then maybe you can go up to Congress, like Representative or Congressman Gabe Evans has done, because he's got the connections, he's got the knowledge, he really understands what's going on here in Colorado after serving in the legislature. So I think that's so important. And I always like bringing that up because, yeah, there's people out there who just all of a sudden want to pop up right before the election and say, "Oh, I'm running for Congress now," and they don't know, they've never even served in the legislature, or even know what goes on down there. So,
Oh,
thought that was always interesting.
100%. 100%. I think you're bringing up a good point. I mean, if there's anybody in this chat, if there's anybody who's watching either live or after this video gets we this live stream gets posted and finalized that wants to run for something local, please reach out. If you're in Arvada, please reach out to Forest Mommy Jessica Finsky. That's where I live. We desperately need help here, like on not only the Arvada City Council, we need help with Jeffco schools. We need help with Jeffco City with Jeffco itself. There are so many things that we need help with, within Jefferson County alone. And then if you're running in anywhere else in Colorado, reach out to Mayor Aaron Lamb. We have a local libertarian mayor who was elected in 2020. It was 2024, correct? Or was it 2023? But anyway, we have a local, uh, we have a governor, or not governor, we have a mayor who knows how to win local races in Colorado. And he's transforming the state as well. I believe, yeah, it was 2023. But anyway, yeah, he's transforming the city of Keensburg as well. He's making it a freer, better place to live. Reach out to him. He also chairs a local candidates uh, committee for the LP National. So if there's anybody who knows how to help you win, it's going to be Jessica Finsky and Aaron Lambs. And they are two local people, and we've got Jessica on the chat right now. So um, grateful for all the activism that we can see on the local level. People who are, and we have people who are willing to actually do the work. So thank you, everybody.
Definitely. And if anybody's up north here, Weld County, Greeley, Fort Collins, anywhere in the northern part of the state, please reach out to me. My DMs are always open on X. Reach out, and I'd love to get involved and network. And yeah, we got to make an impact, people. We got to get involved. None of us are giving up. We're stronger than ever. We're going to keep fighting. But I think let's go ahead and get back to the bills being heard this week. What do you think, Michael?
Let's do it. I'm excited.
Perfect. Yeah, there's some really interesting stuff coming up this week out there, people. Stuff you've never even heard of that's going through the legislature. That's like huge. Like, the gun stuff, this other stuff, super important, but it hasn't left a lot of room for some of these other bills that are coming through. So you got to check this out. So this is Tuesday. This is just a couple days from now, Tuesday in the House Health and Human Services Committee, House Committee Room 112, upon adjournment of the State House, House Bill 1287. So check this out. This is the social media tools for minor users and parents. Now, I don't know about you, but out there watching, but this definitely should ring alarm bells. Social media has become the little punching bag, the whipping boy of everybody who wants to protect the kids these days. Don't get me wrong, social media is extremely harmful for young people. I do agree with that entirely, but it is not the proper role of government to get involved. We know there's going to be second and third order effects to bills like this that are going to cause serious infringements on our freedom, updating the surveillance state and creating situations in which individuals like you and I and you watching this just lose our rights and lose our capability to connect and network freely like what we're doing tonight. So check this out. House Bill 1287. I would say a horrible bill. So check this out. They passed a similar bill last year, 24, 1136. So this bill will relocate with amendments certain language requiring a social media platform to include a function that provides minor users information about their engagement in social media, requires a social media company to implement an age assurance system to determine whether a current or prospective Colorado user on the social company's social media platform is a minor. Now, I don't know if you guys saw this. There was actually a news article this week about it. And the proponents of this bill, they had some guy on there who says like they could do it anonymously. They have all these ways to prove that you're not a minor, that you're a certain age. Like you could hold up your hand and they can like take a photo of this part of your hand, and that'll be able to tell them that you're old enough because the way that develops and stuff like that. I mean, if somebody's 17, 18, I don't know how it's going to know the difference. But nonetheless, in my mind, my biggest fear with this kind of stuff is they're setting up digital ID. Colorado already has a digital driver's license, right? There's the My Colorado app that the governor loves to tout. You can get on there, you can use that for your driver's license, for your digital ID. So how soon? How soon is it going to be where they're going to say all of a sudden, hey, you have to use your digital ID card that the state government gives you in order to get on a social media platform, and then we'll know everything you're doing and exactly who you're talking to and what you're getting involved with. I mean, that's where this kind of stuff goes, folks. I know that people watching this don't see that as being ridiculous. You understand that this is the reality of the world we live in. But of course, there's some people out there who don't pay attention, who are like, oh, that'll never happen. This is just to protect kids. But the reality is, folks, if they're trying to create a system in which you have to prove that you're an adult to use social media, well, there's really only one way to do that, and that's to use this government ID stuff. So I'm really worried about this kind of bill. I'm really disappointed to see some of the bill sponsors on it because there's some people I would say are good Liberty people, some friends, but nonetheless, the path to hell is paved with good intentions, and they're going after social media companies and trying to say, hey, we got to clamp down on these evil social media companies. Never mind the parents. But what do you think, Michael?
No, I agree. I'm very disappointed. I mean, we've had a couple of these people on the live stream. I think they're great Liberty. I think in a lot of ways they're great Liberty people. Jarvis Caldwell, I really liked him. Byron Pelton, I like him a lot. I know that he's been a fighter, particularly on gun rights and stuff. So, um, Yeah, Megan Lukens, I'll even say. I know she's a Democrat, but uh, I was very, I do think she's a genuine person. I will at least speak to her, and I think she genuinely cares. But I think that her prescription for for her concerns are going in the wrong direction with this. So I think this is going to be a huge Fourth Amendment violation for everyone, just because people have some concerns that, at the end of the day, are the responsibility of a parent, not the state itself. The return. This is what we're talking about when Rep. DeGraff talks about a nanny state. This is another step down the path of a nanny state that's going to be all encompassing and totalitarian. So while people might have some quote unquote good intentions, as you say, it's just we're being paved down the road to hell.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you see Texas just recently in the last few years passed something to prevent minors from getting onto pornographic websites, and don't get me wrong, I don't think any kid should be exposed to that stuff. Unfortunately, they're exposed to a lot of horrible things online. But like you said, Michael, it's a parent's responsibility. There's so many apps and things you can buy for phones, for laptops, for tablets that limit what kids can see online. That software exists. There's dozens, if not more, types of programs out there that parents can use to protect their kids, not the role of government. And then, of course, parents say, "Oh, well, the government's protecting the kids now," so they stop taking responsibility. I hate to say it, but that does happen. But just this first line here, folks, the bill requires social media companies to determine if users are minors. So there you go. I mean, bad stuff, bad news. It's not going to solve the problem. We know the government never solves the problem of what they're trying to do. But there you go. There you go. So bad stuff, folks. Just wanted to point this up. And of course, it becomes a deceptive trade practice if these social media companies don't follow Colorado state law, and then so what are they going to do? They got to go along with it or pull out of Colorado and just increase costs, makes it harder to use their platforms, and it ruins the life for everybody. So bad bill, horrible bill. And if you see our good friends there, Representative Caldwell, Senator Pelton, politely ask them to stop this horrible bill. The one thing is, though, you got to say Governor Jared Polis hates this kind of legislation. He would definitely veto this bill, I would think, in its current form. There's another bill we'll talk about later that's very similar that he has said he will veto. He had somebody from his office down there saying they're going to veto this bill if it gets through. So interesting stuff, but nonetheless, something people need to be paying attention to. So, horrible bill being heard this Tuesday, House Committee Room 112 and the House Health and Human Services Committee, 1287. Please show up for that one if you can. At least listen in, pay attention. Honestly, and I know a lot of people watching this, like Jody and Force Mommy and others watching, just listening to these committee hearings, you become such an expert. You find out who's behind these bills, who are these interested parties, how these legislators think, like what's this really agenda, this underlying agenda behind it. Sometimes just listening to these committee hearings, just even listening to the audio, you can become so much more of an expert in Colorado politics. So, but let's go ahead and move on here. So, also on Tuesday, the Transportation, Housing, and Local Government Committee, upon adjournment, an LSBA, so Legislative Service Building, that's a building across the street from the state capitol. Now, we talked about the predecessor to this bill, Michael, and I was really happy it was killed, but this bill is back. It is back with a vengeance. Folks, I don't know about you, but registration is through the roof. It's ridiculously expensive here in Colorado to get your plates every year. And they're trying to make it worse, of course. So before it was to protect vulnerable road users or whatever. So, your bicyclists, your pedestrians, and that was their excuse. Now, here they're coming back and saying it's funding for motor vehicle collision prevention. If we just give the government more money, they're going to stop accidents and collisions that involve a motor vehicle. I mean, good gosh, this is not going to work. These little do-gooder authoritarians, you can just tell these people think they can centrally manage, socially engineer society to the perfect utopia. And it's so dangerous here. So Faith Winter's bill is back here. This bill will create a crash prevention enterprise in CDOT for the purpose of lowering automobile insurance costs by providing funding for transportation system infrastructure improvements and other data-driven strategies that reduce the number of collisions. So there you go, right? Just trust the science, trust the data here. So beginning in January 1, 2026, the enterprise is authorized to impose a crash prevention fee up to a specified maximum amount on the policyholder of each automobile insurance policy issued in the state on a per policy basis. So the state government is going to raise your car insurance costs. They're trying to do it through raising your registration. It's basically ends up being the same thing. Of course, we all know there's plenty of people out there who don't drive with insurance. Don't get me wrong. But of course, each insurer that issues an automobile insurance policy must collect the fee from the policyholder and pay the fee to this enterprise. and then the money will just keep increasing. Now, what's interesting, this bill is so new; it hasn't really gone through the ringer yet. As you can see, it just got introduced into the state house on March 19th, so like just over a week ago. There's not even a fiscal note yet. They haven't even done the fiscal analysis of this bill, and it's being heard on Tuesday. I mean, how can these legislators, how can the public make informed decisions? We have no idea how much is this going to cost. We don't know what's going to cost the people, the insurers. We don't know how much it's going to cost the government. All we know is it's this ridiculous program that is not going to do anything to improve our safety. But, that's my thoughts. What do you think, Michael?
No, I agree. I mean, at the end of the day, I think the chat's bringing up something else that's very important as well. It's an enterprise, which is going to result in fees, and it's a workaround again around TABOR. Um, this is they're going to absolutely gut us with nickel and diming our pocketbooks when we don't even have enough money as it is to live. If I remember correctly, I believe Colorado experienced the most amount of inflation last year, according to reports. So it's harder and harder to live, and yet they're trying to use this as an excuse to take even more money from us. And I'm glad you're pointing that out right now. That word vulnerable road user.
Right. And here's the worst part of it. So they're going to force us. They're going to force us under legal threat to pay more money to these insurance companies. The insurance companies are going to have to do it, right? They just have to do it. So now all of a sudden your insurance bill is going to be higher, and they're going to give this money as grants. So there's grants to eligible entities, which are local governments, state or federally recognized tribal entities, public entities that are not part of the state, and private entities. So your little, anti-car nonprofit groups that are politically connected are going to get some of your money that you're being forced to pay so that they can reduce motor vehicle collisions with vulnerable road users. Absolutely and utterly ridiculous. I mean, yeah, there you go, folks. This is the nature of our government. I mean, we don't hate these people enough. We got to keep fighting. And this is something too that's like a dinner table issue that when come election time, like anybody who votes for this bill, like this should be a campaign issue. Be like, oh, did you know that Representative Bootlicker, Bosnecker, like as Fine State Cycling was saying there, Representative or Senator Roberts actually raised your insurance costs on your car as unaffordable as life is in Colorado. They actually made your insurance more expensive. Then they're giving this money to the little buddies in this anti-car nonprofit that's going to donate that money back to their campaigns. Basically, in my mind, that's going to happen. So there you go, folks. Yeah, get
Hey,
mad, please.
don't forget Faith Winter and her controversy driving drunk to a city council meeting or whatever that was, or I believe it was a town hall for Northglenn, correct?
Yeah, it was a town hall meeting, and she showed up drunk, drove there, of course.
And then she's funding a motor vehicle collision prevention bill. Of all the things for her to not talk about, you would think this would be one of them.
Yeah. So there you go, folks. Bad news. And see, we do these live streams because this is something you don't hear about on the news, but like this is real. This is what's happening. And this is all the sneaky little crap that they push on us here in Colorado, and nobody and very few people even know about it. So if you can, folks, show up to this committee hearing. This is Tuesday. Zoom in, let them know. But these people cannot just keep getting away with this without at least some public pushback. We can't let them just keep doing this without people at least speaking out. So moving here to Wednesday, let's talk about Wednesday in the House Judiciary Committee, 1:30 p.m., House Committee Room 107. Interesting bills here. I'd love to hear what people think about 1171. So, of course, we were just talking about soft on crime policies earlier. Here's a bill that's a hard on crime bill. So, right, so Byrd and Bootlicker here are going after criminals, but they're only going after them to prevent them from having guns. Of course, I think that the idea that a previous offender can't buy a firearm is totally unconstitutional in my mind. If you've already served your time, if you are out of jail, if you have committed your crime and paid your debts to society, then you should have all your full rights restored. I believe that 110%. But of course, when it comes to firearms, these little sneaky, I almost said a bad word there. These little sneaky people are trying to figure out ways to take away our firearms from us. So here it is. So, under current law, it is illegal for a person to possess a firearm if the person was convicted of or adjudicated for certain felonies. This bill will add motor vehicle theft in the first, second, and third degree to the list of violations that prohibit the person from possessing a firearm. Now, don't get me wrong, somebody who's been convicted in a court of law and found guilty of motor vehicle theft, sure, they're not high on my sympathy list. But then now you're telling me they lose their Second Amendment rights for life. for life here in Colorado. They can't defend their families. Maybe they did it when they were a teenager. Well, maybe not a teenager because they were a minor, but maybe they were 20 years old. Now they're in their 50s and they have a family and a stable job and this and that. And you're going to say that because they committed this non-violent crime, don't get me wrong, property theft, bad deal, bad stuff. These people should be punished to the fullest extent of the law. But once they're out of jail, they should have their rights back. But of course, these little fools down at the state capitol want to take away our right to defend ourselves at all costs. And they're chipping away, figuring out little ways that they can do this. And here's just another example. What are your thoughts, Michael?
No, I agree. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, we believe that. I mean, you look at the statistics. I believe we're the seventh most dangerous state in the entire country. It's absolutely embarrassing to walk downtown anymore, particularly downtown Denver. We talk about all the time. I'm not going to take my kids there. I'm not going to take my kid there right now unless I absolutely have to. And we're going to go in that one location and we're going to get right back out and we're going to get out of that downtown area because it's just too dangerous to bring your family. Um, Now, so I don't mind them trying to find ways to be a bit more tough on crime, but once somebody has served their time, I mean, that doesn't mean that they should lose all of their rights forever. Particularly somebody like Rep Bootlicker. I mean, I honestly think it's phenomenally hypocritical for these progressive Democrats to be uh, attacking our gun rights. I mean, and it's funny because if this wasn't just a gun bill, Representative Bootlicker would not be trying to attack our gun rights. This is just another attack on gun rights itself.
Right. They don't want to put people in jail. They don't want to arrest people, but hey, they'll take away their guns. Another way for them to do it. So absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it's so hypocritical. But let's move on, folks. So this bill's being heard. If people are interested, Wednesday in that House Judiciary Committee, so many important bills go through there. House Committee Room 107, the first floor of the state capitol. Now, this one I'm interested in. I like this. I know a lot of our more conservative friends are not too happy with House Bill 1243, but I like this bill. I'd love to hear what people think about it. So this bill's made some news. Of course, you're going to see all the police unions going against this bill, but police officer questions during traffic stop. The bill prohibits a peace officer, so you're a cop, from asking a driver or passenger if they know the reason for the traffic stop. Hey, kid, you know why I pulled you over? And requires the peace officer, police, the cop, to inform the driver of the reason for the traffic stop unless it is unreasonable under the totality of the circumstances. So imagine you get pulled over and a cop comes up and says, hey, saw you, it was a rolling stop, or you made a right turn and there was a sign that said no right on red or something like that, and they tell you that right off the bat. I think that's how it should be. These people are public servants. They work for us. Our tax dollars pay them. They shouldn't be trying to sneak around and entrap us and say, do you know why I pulled you over? You're like, oh, geez, I don't know. Maybe it was this or that and that. Oh, you just admitted to a crime. I think that the police they're supposed to be helping us. They're supposed to be helping society. Go up to somebody, hey, I just saw you do this. Here's what's going on. Whether they want to give you a ticket or not, at least they're explaining why they pulled you over, why they stopped you from going to work on time, why they stopped you from getting home to your family. I think they should have to tell us why they're doing that. So I kind of like this bill. But what do you think, Michael?
No, I think it's a good bill. I mean, one of the thing, I mean, this is another thing that I find interesting this session is not only do we have civil asset forfeiture reform, which is a phenomenal bill, uh, probably one of the top bills that have been introduced in the session this year. Um, that and the only one that's passed so far that I would say is a good one is the green energy nuclear bill that was discussed earlier. This one could potentially be a good bill that gets passed as well that's going to protect our liberties. I mean, again, I mean, just like we talk about with gun rights and civil asset forfeiture, imagine if somebody were to stop and say, "Oh, is it because I have a RMGO sticker on the back of my car?" Maybe that's going to make a police officer suspicious that you might have some sort of contraband firearm that you technically shouldn't have according to law, even though it's your Second Amendment right to have that weapon. So, I think there's a lot of concerns that could potentially be brought up with this. They might ask you, especially if they ask you questions that are particularly firearm related. So, Um, I think it's a good bill.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see this committee hearing because there's going to be some Democrats who are against this bill. Of course, a lot of Republicans against it. So it'll be it's one of those bills that kind of presents an interesting dynamic that kind of splits up the caucuses on different lines. So it'll be interesting. It'll be very interesting to listen to this committee hearing. So even if people don't want to testify on this one, maybe tune in if you want to stay up to date. This is at the Judiciary Committee Wednesday starting at 1:30 p.m. Now there's a lot of bills going through there, so it's hard to say what time this will be heard exactly. But wanted to bring one more up in this same committee hearing, House Bill 1264. I mean, these names right there, you got little, Che Guevara wannabes, Mabre and Garcia, and then Jody and Weissman, some really bad people here. But of course, they hate business people, they hate landlords, they hate people that provide a service to society, unless it's, under a socialism or under government control. So prohibit surveillance data to set prices and wages. There's a lot here, but let's start here. Surveillance data is data that is obtained through observation, inference, or surveillance, and that is related to personal characteristics, behaviors, or biometrics. The bill prohibits surveillance based discrimination against a consumer or worker based on surveillance data through the use of automated decision systems. So, this is your AI automated programs to inform individualized prices based on surveillance data regarding a consumer. So, you kind of think of like that surge pricing or individualized wages based on surveillance data regarding a worker. An automated decision system is defined by the bill and includes in part information derived from machine learning or other data processing or artificial intelligence. The bill specifies activities that are not surveillance-based price or wage discrimination. So there's a prohibition against surveillance-based discrimination based on prices. I mean, it's so convoluted, it's hard to even know exactly how this is going to work exactly. But I can see, technology is getting to the point where they can say, hey, we have good information on this consumer, so we can charge them a specific type of price. We know what they're going to pay, or we're going to pay this person depending on if they're who they are as a worker, right? Like I hire people at my day job, and you look at their experience, their background, what they're making now. You can ask all these questions to kind of get an idea of what you want to offer them to bring them into the company. So, I guess you can call that surveillance if it's considered observation or inference. So it's hard to see how this is going to work exactly, but having a computer system help you out to determine how you should pay somebody or how you should set a price on something. I don't know. Interesting bill. I'd say it's a bad bill, but yeah, like Steve says in there, what does it even mean? Good question.
Yeah, I think you bring up a really good point, particularly individualized wages based on surveillance data regarding a worker. If you find somebody slacking off on your closed caption cameras that should be clearly doing a specific task that they need to be doing, and it's harming the company, that's going to be considered surveillance data. And because you saw it on there, you're not going to be able to do anything about it. So I'm very concerned about some of these. I'm very concerned about this bill. I'm concerned about what this is going to do uh, for companies overall, because it's going to lead to a lot more inefficiency, because you're going to discover things about employees, very serious threats to your company, but you're not going to be able to do anything because you discovered it through surveillance.
Well, and then think about it this way too. This is placing all these limitations and prohibitions on Colorado businesses or Colorado entrepreneurs, where people in other states who don't have these types of restrictions on them are going to be more successful potentially. So anytime you see these bills going after like artificial intelligence or newer technology or these algorithms that can help business owners make more efficient choices or more cost-effective choices, you have to realize it's only hurting the Colorado business owners and turning them into second-class citizens. So I'm curious, like people were asking in the chat, I'm curious to get on to listen to this committee hearing on Wednesday just to hear what the whole idea behind this bill is. But knowing the bill sponsors, I know it's bad. And I hate to say, like, inferring, I'm using my observation, inference, and surveillance to say that look at who's sponsoring this bill. I know it's going to be bad, anti business. But nonetheless, interesting bill. Want to get in front of people because it is something out there that any of these AI type bills, I always want to try and bring them up because it's interesting. And this is that new frontier we're on. So interesting stuff there. But moving on to Thursday in the House Finance Committee, House Committee Room 112, Thursday upon adjournment of the State House. Some interesting bills, but this one in particular, Senate Bill 173. Of course, anytime you see Taxpayers' Bill of Rights, your TABOR, that's another one to pay attention to. So, revenue classification for the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights. So they want to decide how they're classifying the revenue coming into our state government in order to try and Go after Tabor, of course. So, you can read through here exactly what it does. Of course, look who's on it. These people hate Tabor for sure. But the fiscal notes, folks, the fiscal notes always provide some extra information. It's a great way to find a summary, to get some history on the bill and get some extra information here. So, the bill specifies that certain revenues are considered to be damage awards or property sales and therefore exempt from Tabor. Of course, any bill that they can push to be exempt from Tabor, that means they can collect that money and not have it included in the calculation of what needs to be refunded to the taxpayers. So you can check it out right here. Look at this. Change in Tabor refunds. So for people who don't know, Tabor does an incredible job of giving money back to the people. The Tabor, the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights in our Colorado Constitution, was enacted in 1992 by Colorado voters, and it prevents the state government from collecting too much money. If they collect too much money, they're required to refund it back. That's why everybody who filed a tax return this year got a check in the mail. Our state income tax rate actually this year is lower because of Tabor. There's property tax exemptions for Gold Star moms, for or Gold Star widows, spouses, and seniors, and other people out there who are probably some very vulnerable people who are going to pay less property taxes thanks to Tabor. So these greedy government snobs want to take more money out of our Tabor refunds. So check this out: $17 million in the fiscal year, $17 million basically every year coming out of our Tabor refunds that the state government can keep, all by playing these little word games to say, well, we're classifying that as different type of revenue now. So the revenue limit in the Colorado Constitution's Tabor Amendment applies to all state revenue that is not specifically excluded. Two exclusions that appear in Tabor are for damage awards and property sales. Beginning in the current fiscal year, the bill modifies the statutory definitions of both of these terms to include additional sources of revenue satisfying these exclusions. So they're going to change what that means exactly, of course, for fines and penalties, for sales of other things. So sneaky little ways that these little greedy government officials can find to keep more of our hard-earned tax money. So shame on them. Shame on these people who want to take away our tax refund money and use it for their little pet projects. What do you think, Michael?
Oh, I mean, look at Zokoi, however you say her name. She's a pretty progressive. I haven't seen anything from her on a personal level quite like Garcia. She is just one of the worst human beings down at the Capitol. And then Weissman, I mean, he's a bit of a snake. Um, so this is another, and he's extremely far left progressive as well. So all three of these individuals, just like the last bill um, that you referenced. They're coming after your Tabor. They're coming just like they did in Jefferson County. To those of you who followed what happened with 1A, it was absolutely disgusting, particularly the way they were told by the state. Jefferson County was told by the state, you've been holding on to $30 million that needs to go directly back to the citizens of Colorado per Tabor and give it to them now. And they said, nope, we're still going to wait until the election. 1A passed, and they said, oh, it's our money now. We still have it, so we're going to keep it. And um, it hurt a lot of people because that was $30 million to the citizens of Jeffco that was overtaxed, that was stolen, and now they get to keep it because of what 1A said. So this is another scam that they're just trying to run on Tabor. If anything, what we need to do is we need to find a way to run a ballot initiative or something to expand Tabor to fees as well. So we really need to do something to work as a whole within Colorado to work together to help. How do I want to say this? We need to come together to help expand Tabor and protect Tabor at the end of the day. And this is a classic reason why we need to do that.
Definitely, and just for people, Mike Weissman, he was in the state house. I was a legislative aide back in 2017 down at the Capitol. Mike Weissman was at the Capitol 8 years ago in the House. Now he's in the Senate. This guy's a career politician. He knows nothing. He knows nothing about how the economy and the private sector actually works. Little Lorena Garcia there is a card-carrying member of the Democratic Socialists of America. She literally would ban all guns if she could and institute a Soviet-style system for us to live under. And Yara Zoke is probably the most ignorant person we've seen in recent memory in terms of she thinks the reason eggs are expensive is because these corporations are price gouging. She literally said that on X that her anti-price gouging bill is going to bring down the prices of eggs, and these greedy companies are the reason why eggs are so expensive. I mean, these people are dangerously ignorant, dangerously stupid, and we all have to suffer for this. But yeah, of course, they're going to do everything they can to hurt our taxpayers' Bill of Rights and take away our money. So bad news, folks. That's a big one. I'd love for people to get more involved in that bill specifically this week. But last bill of the week we want to talk to, and then but stay tuned. We still got more to talk about. We'll fly through some of the other stuff at the end. But this is the Senate Agriculture and Natural Resources Committee, and I don't know. This is a mixed bag. We got a lot of Republicans on this bill. Interesting one, House Bill 1180, prohibiting pet animal sales in public spaces. Now, I'm a free market guy. I'm a pro liberty guy, libertarian. So, the idea that if somebody wants to sell pets, I see people in up here in Greeley in parking lots with little cages and selling dogs. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to see any animals abused. I don't like the puppy mills and all this and stuff. But who knows? Maybe these people are entrepreneurs. Maybe they take care of these animals. Like these legislators don't know that. They want to create a blanket ban on people who are selling, adopting, or bartering, or even giving away any pet animal that at the time of transfer is physically located at or on any public street, highway, right of way, parkway, median strip, park, recreation area, outdoor market, parking lot, or other public space. The only place they want you to be able to sell and buy animals is through licensed facilities and stuff like that. So I don't like this idea. I think let the market decide, let people make their own decisions. If people want to breed dogs and sell them on their own, they should be presumed innocent of having caused animal abuse. They shouldn't be presumed guilty like this kind of bill infers they are. But I don't know. What do you think?
No, I agree. I think this is ridiculous. If let's say, for example, let's say, for example, me and my family are really struggling, and we're at that point where we don't have anything left to sell, and we have to unfortunately sell one of our animals. We love our animals. My dog's cages are right here in my office, right next to me. So it would be absolutely devastating. But if we have to, we need to do what we need to do, and nobody should tell us we can't sell our own pets. It's ridiculous. Or if I have my own pet and I want to do my own breeding business, I mean, why should I have to go through why should I be forced to go through some special regulation or some special facility that the government approves to sell my pets? It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, we libertarians believe in a free market. This is the exact opposite of a this is the exact opposite of a free market, and I'm very disappointed to see what's going on with Armagost, Duran, Roberts. Um, Bright, he's had some good bills, but this one I'm disappointed to see him on. Um, this is, um, yeah, I'm very much not happy with this bill. So
Definitely, definitely. So that's what we got this week, folks. This bill's being heard. It's already made its way through the House. It is now in the Senate. So it'll be interesting to see. But nonetheless, this bill's been amended quite a bit. But folks, we're in our lightning round here. So stay tuned. We're going to talk about some of the most important bills of the legislative session, bills that we've been tracking throughout the session here. What do you think, Michael? You want to maybe we trade off every other slide? We can start switching, get through this lightning round. Does that sound fun?
let's go for it. I'm excited.
Perfect. So we got a lot of bills. Now, these bills, folks, are not necessarily being heard this week, but we want to give you an update. So we went through, literally looked at every single one of these bills earlier today to give you an update of where they are in the process, which bills have died, which bills have passed, which bills are in waiting for a committee assignment. So let's go ahead and go through and talk about some of the bills that we're seeing here. I'll start with the first slide, and then we'll switch off here. So uh, the Sundance Film Festival bill. I'm sure everybody out there is celebrating how wonderful it is that all these left-wing progressive Hollywood types are going to be coming to Boulder, Colorado to have their own Sundance Film Festival, that $35 million tax credit that the taxpayers of Colorado are on the hook for. But supposedly it's going to bring such an economic boon to Boulder and Boulder County that it's worth it for people in rural Colorado to be paying for the Sundance Film Festival to come here through this tax. But nonetheless, it passed, the House passed the Senate and is on to the governor. And if you've been following Jared Polis's Twitter account, his X account, you know he loves this thing. So he's I'm sure, gonna sign this bill.
Brandon, I came up
Yeah, go
with a
for it.
solution for this one that I'll be okay with. Okay, since this is all political, we could let's let them do the next release of the Wolves there, and maybe they could have like some sort of Hollywood elite, like a Harvey Weinstein, do it, and maybe Weinstein wants to release the wolves wearing like a special meat suit or something like Lady Gaga. I would be okay with something like that. If that's how they want to release the next batch of wolves, that's how you get my support. Okay, Brandon?
I'm with you there, man. I'm with you. So here we go. This ridiculous bill is passed. It's gone to the governor. So, that's the news there. Another one that is passed, a good one we're all happy about. Representative Barron was even mentioning it, House Bill 1040, adding nuclear energy as a clean energy resource. I'm sure Polis will sign that. I would think he would at least, or at least let it become law. He doesn't want to piss off the Greenies because he's not always getting along with them. But two bills that have passed, but we're going to keep going here. So, Michael, take us away on the next slide here.
All right, Senate Bill 3 unfortunately passed on to the governor. This is what we're telling you. I think our only hope with this one is Polis's presidential hopes. If he's going to run in 2028, he has to straight up veto this bill. He cannot let this thing pass on its own and get beyond that point where he can veto. He's going to have to kill this thing directly and put his name to paper saying he is not going to pass this bill. The next one, requirements for sale of firearms and ammunition. This is the one where they are restricting your ability to buy ammo. They are also restricting your, if I remember, yeah, this is also the same one where they are raising the age to 21 to even buy ammo. So you can go die for your country in the Middle East, but for oil money, but you're not going to be able to go buy bullets at the store. So absolutely absurd bill on the governor. Go ahead and tell this thing hasn't been signed yet. Go ahead and tell Governor Polis no way on this bill.
Right. Yeah, you're smart enough to vote, or you're supposedly smart enough to vote at 18, but yeah, you're not responsible enough to be able to buy ammunition. Absolutely ridiculous. Moving on here, the economically ignorant prohibiting price gouging and sale of necessities. It did make it through the state house entirely, so now it is in the Senate. Really, it already passed to the Senate committee, so I don't think there's any chance of stopping this bill, as stupid as it is. House Bill 1010 prohibiting price gouging and sale of necessities is being heard tomorrow on the Senate floor, so anybody can watch that on the Colorado channel, watch that debate. Love to see some of the more free market minded Republicans there make some great speeches against this bill. That'd be fun to watch. Let's hope they come out swinging on this one. And then, yeah, got that one on there twice for some reason. So we'll skip that. Go ahead, Michael.
All right, criminal asset forfeiture. It's still stalled at committee, hasn't passed yet. We're still waiting on action with this one. The good news is it's not killed yet, but they haven't passed this thing beyond committee yet. So if you can, this is still a great time to send out some emails in support of criminal asset forfeiture reform. So if you can, please get on that. Tenant landlord enforcement. This is one of the many bills that Rep. Barron was talking about earlier, where they are trying to attack landlords. Um, this one is going to be heard Monday on the Senate floor.
Yeah, absolutely horrific bill, but great point on criminal asset forfeiture. It is one of the best bills we've seen. People, please reach out to members of the Judiciary Committee there. Tell them to support 1067. The bill had debate and then stalled out as it was rescheduled. So we'll see what happens to it. But yeah, it's kind of in a holding pattern for now. Moving along, Senate Bill 33. Weinberg's horrible bill to be a prohibit new liquor license, drugstore licenses from going out. Did make its way all the way through the Senate, but will be heard on the House floor tomorrow on March 31st. So hopefully we'll get some people speaking out against this one. But yeah, bad bill, probably going to become law. They're trying to, because all these mom and pop shops are suffering. Don't get me wrong, I have sympathy for these little liquor stores that are suffering now that grocery stores and drug stores and everything can sell alcohol. But hey, Coloradans want to buy their alcohol in drugstores, pharmacies, wherever. They should be allowed to. It's not like it's that ridiculous. We have a lot of outdated liquor laws. So Senate Bill 33 is a horrible bill. It takes Colorado in the wrong direction for sure. So we'll see that one on tomorrow. This is the Bitcoin vending machine, basically a regulation bill. I don't know what to say about it too much, except that it's being heard on the Finance Committee on April 7th for anybody interested. I know there's a lot of crypto people who watch this, so just trying to keep you updated on that one. But go ahead.
Modification. This is another nasty little bill. This is going to be heard on the House floor. Senator Kip, Rich, Carter, and Soper. Unfortunately, Soper is one of the biggest disappointments, it seems like, every single year as a Republican. And then the other nasty bill that's going to be heard on the House floor as well, Senate Bill 86, protections for users of social media. This is just like the other bill we were talking about earlier. That's going to be a committee that's going to attack our privacy rights on social media.
Oh, 86 is so bad. It basically turns these social media companies into spies for the state government and basically codifies their terms of service into state law. That if somebody's caught violating the TOS or the rules of these social media platforms, they are legally obligated to basically delete them, to ban their account. I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, are you kidding me? Senator Frizzell should be totally apologizing to the people of Colorado for sponsoring this horrible bill. It is bad news, folks. And yeah, she deserves, don't get me wrong, the Democrats always deserve the criticism too. But when you see a Republican on there, I think they deserve extra criticism because come on, there's no excuse for that. So sorry to interrupt you there. Just wanted to bring that one up. But
No, you brought up very good point. You'll notice Senate Bill 185 from last year, it got killed because of a couple of activists um, that have been guests on the show in the past. They were able to get on. I mean, if you're on this, and that should just inspire you guys that are currently on today. If you see something on here, Senate, this bill as well, Senate Bill 86, the bill, I forgot the name of the bill that's going to be in committee this week that we talked about a little bit ago that Pelton and Jarvis are on, or Jarvis Caldwell are on. What they did is they were able to get people activated. They were able to work up some grassroots organization to get down to the Capitol, fight the bill. And on top of that, they were able to get some media exposure for the bill, and they were able to kill it. And it passed either with one no, or it was absolutely unanimous in the Senate, and they were able to kill it in Senate committee. So what they did this year is they split the bill in half essentially. So and they basically brought it back in two bills instead of one. But if you can kill a bill, go for it. You never know what you're going to be able to do. And if you're listening to this, get out there, get activated, get people to sign up to testify and use your voice and reach out to people you know. If you've got a media connection, absolutely do everything you can to utilize it. So, um, yeah, get active. So that would be my advice to you guys is get activated. You never know what you can do until you give it a shot. So, um, yeah.
definitely,
And
definitely,
then,
yeah. Senate Bill, yeah, go ahead.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Go for it. You go for it.
Senate Bill 86, just such bad news. I mean, these people are, it's so bad. But this is the one that Polis did say that he would veto. So we'll be very interested to see. He at least likes the internet freedom aspect. So we'll see. They might have amended this bill enough to make it more palatable to him, but we'll see how that goes. So just something to keep an eye on. House Bill 1006, the school district solar garden lease term, is being heard also on the Senate floor tomorrow, Monday. This bill basically lets school districts turn their empty buildings into affordable housing for teachers. The teachers' unions are behind this bill, or into solar gardens. So there you go. I think it's a bad bill, but being heard tomorrow on the Senate floor. But let's keep going here. Oh, there you go. Go ahead and go with this one, Michael.
All right. Register and drive surplus military vehicles, House Bill 1127. We talked about this one a little bit with Carlos Barron and Senator Pelton. Fantastic job. We've ripped on Senator Pelton a lot, but this is a fantastic bill. And so we want to definitely let him know when he sponsors a good bill. We want to make sure that we let him know because we've ripped on him a lot this year. So thank you, Senator Byron Pelton. Uh, yeah, and we're glad to see that this one's under appropriations. Let's hope that this one can get through appropriations and can get back to floor work. Uh, House Bill 1093, limitations on local anti-growth use policies. This one is now unfortunately passed the Senate and House and on to the governor. This is a privacy rights violation, massive privacy rights violation. What somebody wants to do on their land should not be any of the it should not be it should not be of any business of the government itself. So let's hope that the governor uses his head on this one and will actually veto the bill.
Yeah, unfortunately, Governor Polis loves this kind of bill. Basically, this bill prohibits and prevents local governments from enacting what they would say anti-growth land use policies are. They want to the state government wants to force high density housing along transit corridors into municipalities that do not want it. There's communities out there in Colorado who do not want to see massive housing developments put in place in their small little bedroom communities. But of course, the government wants to push this on people, even though where's the water going to come from? They're not thinking ahead or they don't care. They just have this crazy extreme growth agenda, for lack of a better word there. And speaking of which, it's kind of interesting because these two bills go hand in hand. House Bill 1113, limit turf and new residential development. They basically want to say, oh yeah, we know we're all this high density housing we're forcing on people. Well, we know that water's an issue, so we're going to prohibit you from having non-functional turf. We're going to have you say you can't have grass, you can't have invasive grass species or invasive plant species that use too much water. So it's like this micromanaging of society where they're going to force local governments to have massive housing developments, but at the same time, like, well, yeah, but you can't have grass. We're going to control this from the state level. It's not going to work. It's never going to be successful. So stupid bill being heard Monday in Senate floor. House Bill 1100, requirements for filling certain vacancies in office. This is to deal with those vacancy committees. Representative Luck got this bill introduced back in January 27th. It has not had a committee hearing yet. Not a great sign, but they need to do something to address vacancy committees. We just had another vacancy appointee who voted for Senate Bill 3 in the Senate this last week. So vacancy committees need to go away. And here's a bill to introduce it. Good bill. Love seeing Representative Luck on that one. So go for it, Michael.
Next is county lodging tax expansion. We saw a similar version of this last year where they were just trying to straight up attack play, businesses like Airbnb, etc., where people would basically use their house as an Airbnb instead of maybe renting it out. They wanted to jack up the property taxes on those properties that they didn't, and they ended up killing that bill last year. Now we're seeing another version of it this year. This is on to Senate floor work, unfortunately, which means it's passed the House. The other terrible bill that's going to attack our First Amendment rights, Colorado Anti-Discrimination Act, passed Judiciary, and now it's on to the appropriations for House floor work. Good news is this hasn't passed the House yet, but we will see, especially if it's already passed the Judiciary. So that's where we're with that.
Perfect. Two more bad bills, both passed to the governor. House Bill 1238, basically the anti-gun show bill. They're trying to shut down gun shows by having these ridiculous requirements. The House Democratic Caucus posted on X the most ridiculous statement after this bill passed out of the House. They said, we're going to make gun shows safer. We're going to stop theft of guns at gun shows. I'm like, are you kidding me? That never happens. It's something that gun shows are already the safest place because so many people are armed. Are you kidding me? It was the most tone deaf, ridiculous, stupid thing they could say. Just show they have no idea what they're talking about. But of course, they Senate and the House and their anti-gun agenda this year passed this one, and I'm sure Polis will sign it. But Jared Polis needs to live with his anti-gun agenda. House Bill 1203, misbranding cultivated meat products as meat. I don't want to eat lab-grown meat. I don't know if this is the proper role of government, but basically they'd prohibit the misbranding of cell-cultivated meat as a meat product. It'd have to be clearly labeled as cell-cultivated meat. So for take it take it what you will, you like it or you hate it, that bill did pass this year. All right, go for it, Michael.
Uh, One thing that I hate is the whole smart idea of the smart meter. The good news is this is a smart meter opt-in program, and I'm glad to see that it's passed the House and it's on to the Senate. So let's hope that we could see this one um, advance. That way, people have a better ability to opt out of the whole smart meter program. Another bill that has passed is marijuana regulation streamline. That is going to be heard on the heard in the Finance Committee on Tuesday.
Senate Bill 131, reducing the cost of housing, another bill that has not seen a committee hearing yet. Senator Lundin's bill, we'll keep an eye on that one. House Bill 1243, the peace officer questions during traffic stop. We just talked about that being heard Wednesday. Okay, go for it.
All right. The next bill is House Bill 1262, regulate private security officers and agencies. This is another crazy bill with Mabry and Weissman, which is going to be House Committee on Business Affairs and regular This is going to be referred unamended to finance, excuse me. Um, then we've got House Bill 1291, Transportation Network Companies Consumer Protection, which is going to add a bunch of regulations like forced compliance with additional cameras and Ubers, etc. And this will be heard in Business Affairs and Labor on Thursday the 3rd.
Definitely, yeah. Sorry we didn't get to talk in depth on that one, but we have a limitation. Of course, we're already going 2 hours. But yeah, really bad bill. They're going after these rideshare companies like crazy. So bad stuff there. Um, Senate Bill 5, that's the big union bill that would eliminate the second election and negotiate a union security clause. Horrible bill. Definitely could spur a lot of big fights between labor and business. It did pass the Senate, is now in the House Committee on Business Affairs and Labor. They passed it unamended to appropriations, so it's sitting in appropriations in the House. I'm sure that bill's going to pass. That's when Polis might veto. Senate Bill 72, absolutely horrible bill to regulate kratom. It made it out of its first Senate committee there, finance into appropriations. Is just stalled out there. Hopefully, it dies there.
Next bill, Senate Bill 201, require AIDS checks of online sexual materials with one Dean, Daughtry, and Lukens. This is going to be heard in the Senate on Tuesday.
Yeah. This is that one where they're like, oh, yeah, you can tell by the shape of your hand if you're old or not, like to get on to some pornographic website. Like, yeah, there you go. So we'll fly through these folks. Lots of bills, lots of interesting things going on. Here's our list of bills that have died, some good, some bad, some ugly. So pour one out, press F for respects, and we'll talk about these bills here. House Bill 1237 would have very minorly allowed alcoholic beverage establishments to stay open slightly later. That bill was killed. Reducing the cost of state regulation, also killed.
Healthcare provider right to exercise conscience. 1255 was set by Rep. Luck was killed, as well as 1251 from Scott Bottom's parental consent to treatment of a minor, which is kind of like his anti grooming bill. That was supposed to be a very fantastic bill to fight back against all this gender affirming care garbage. It was unfortunately killed as well.
1232, liability when means of self-defense prohibited, killed. Expanding the Colorado Cottage Foods Act, that was a Tamale Act, killed.
uh, House Bill 1089 county mail ballot signature verifications was killed as well. That was going to help shore up election integrity. House Bill 25 1141 gift card and retail property crime penalties was also killed.
1055, freshman Representative Max Brooks' bill to repeal that ridiculous firearm dealer requirements was killed. Sullivan's little carve out for his premium cigars that he likes to smoke to give himself a little tax break was killed as well.
House Bill 1074. This was a bill that we worked a lot with freshman Rep Ryan Gonzalez with to repeal the cage-free egg law that Rep Barron previously mentioned. That was killed as well. That was killed, and so was a bill to help push back on some of the on that recent um, single-use plastic bag fee bill. They were going to repeal recycled paper bag carryout fee that was a part of that bill. That was unfortunately killed as well.
1143, open source software and voting systems, kind of blockchain voting killed. Insect production, this was a funny bill. Representative Bottoms wanted to prohibit people from being able to buy insect food or like food that's for humans that's made out of insects. They killed that bill. Interesting stuff.
House Bill 1044, local funding for vulnerable road user protection. We talked about that one, killed, and then it came back as a whole nother monstrosity. That was killed. House Bill 1145, trafficking minor for abortion, transgender care, by another good bill by Rep. Bottoms. That was killed as well.
Repeal retail delivery fees. Everybody pays 29 cents to Amazon or whoever when you order something, DoorDash. We wanted to get repeal that. 1140, disclosing information to immigration authorities, also killed.
House Bill 6, remove precipitation collection limitations. It's your property. You should be able to collect rainfall if you want to. It was unfortunately killed. Enforcement of federal immigration law. Um, That was killed as well. We oddly heard that there might be another. This might come back in another version. I don't think so. We'll see how what the Democrats present, but this one was unfortunately killed as well.
The non-citizen voter registration cancellation, Senate Bill 57, very similar to what Trump's pushing at a nationwide level. Tried to do that here at the local level, failed. Government transparency laws, a great bill to open up our government to better sunshine laws and let people know what's actually happening. I did testify on that bill, was killed.
This is Rep. Bradley's bill, Protections Against Child Rape, House Bill 1073. That was unfortunately killed. And then, thankfully, a good one to kill was Senate Bill 76, Intoxicating Substances and Social Equity in Businesses, was also killed.
Yeah, a lot of bills have died this year, folks. As you know, here's the Afuera bill. Love this one. This one was so fun to read through. Senate Bill 139, Baisley's bill to basically would have done a million different things to lower the cost of living here in Colorado. Good bill. So that's what we got, folks. A lot of information. Please share this live stream. It is on YouTube. Come back and watch it. Get this information out there to the people. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Had a great time this week. There's a lot going on, but get involved. Don't give up. So much is happening that people aren't even aware of, but really appreciate everybody joining. Awesome chat this week. Awesome guest. Really a lot of fun. I was cracking up. You guys in the chat were having some hilarious comments, some really good stuff there. So really appreciate everybody. Appreciate everybody's support. And we're going to turn this ship around. We're going to free Colorado. But so don't give up. Keep fighting and let's get empowered, get informed, and have a voice.
That's right. We're going to win the war, people. Don't give up. This is a long-term fight, and we're going to be right there with you.
Awesome. Well, appreciate you, everybody. We'll see you again next week. As Representative Barron was saying, we got 37 days. So, several more weeks of this, but we're here for the long haul, and we'll have some fun going through the bills being heard this week. So appreciate you. Take care, and we'll